Hello and welcome to Race Brain Podcast. My name is Rich Ryan. Joining me today, just Brakken Crocker. Just me and you today, dude.
Batman and Robin.
We feeling good about it?
I think so. Jack takes up so much air.
I know. I don't
So
know.
much space.
It's gonna be a lot. I wonder if we're sitting here talking excited about this episode. We're gonna crush this thing, but people are gonna hate it.
It's not snooze fest.
No, it's not gonna be entertaining.
It's not funny this week.
They're definitely not gonna be funny. No chance. No chance in the world. But Jack's on a bit of a hiatus. So he'll be back next week, we think, for to give you what you want, to give you that Jack Bauer comedy hour.
Yeah.
But today it's just you and me.
That's it. And I got to tell you, we had your boy Joshua Reed on.
Oh, hell yeah.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we did the follow-up. Usually we're in a conversation with people and we run out of time. Like 2 hours in, you realize we could go one way or the other. We just got to call it. But we'll get back around to it again. And this time we said we're getting to it sooner than later. So we had him back on again Friday.
Nice.
And I enjoy that man.
He's great.
Great.
He's great.
I see why you wanted to have him as your original co-host.
Right. Yeah, we did a span over COVID, maybe half the year where we did an episode a week. Maybe it was less. But he's great when it comes to recall and explaining these type of topics. He's really good at understanding and then being able to explain things that he's read or things that he's done. So yeah, he's great.
And I think there's 3 types of people you get to know in the fitness industry. There's the type that's probably most common, that when you establish a connection with them, they start reaching out from time to time, and it's just random stuff. Hey, I ran a workout, or did you see this shoe, or whatever. And then there's the type that will just send you memes.
Yeah.
And then there's the type that if they find out you have a shared interest, you get intel from them. And he was that. The moment we interviewed, I started getting here's a research study on this, or here's an article on something. He has that goofy, free spirit, lives in a bus, does his own thing approach, but that's steeped in the science. He's researching, he's reading, and I really respect that. He balances both sides out nicely. He can explain it, but he researches and knows it too.
Oh, for sure. And he's been coaching for a while now, so the application is coming along with it as well. Because sometimes there's that too. It's the people that can tell you what they've read. It's okay, what does that mean in terms of how you would put this in a program or whatever? And it gets confused in terms of what the meaning of a study was, or what how they came up with something. But Josh is good about even knowing the application part too, which is really important.
Yeah, and this isn't where we're going today, I don't believe at all. But I think we sit in a strange realm of endurance where we can't just take a study or a paper or even a training book and just use it.
Right.
You have to adapt it because we have too many variables. And I'm not trying to make it seem like this is rocket science. It's not. It's not a clean one-to-one. What works for track won't work for hybrid 1-to-1. But there's pieces of it. And he seems to, in the little bit we've chatted recently, been really good at figuring out what's useful and how is it useful. How do you integrate it into a holistic program? And so I've been enjoying more contact with the man Riedinger.
That's that guy. I don't know where he is, in a bus somewhere on top of some sort of mountain, digging himself out of the snow, living that life that he wants to live.
Yes, he is.
But you and I, we're also going to be living that life. We are just no real events happening. Last week we had our big overarching topic around what we think is going to happen in the upcoming year with these different events that we're covering. There might be some Hyrox stuff coming up in the next, I don't even think until the end of the month. So today we are just going to talk about some, bigger concepts around what we're doing here at Race Brain. And then we're going to get into some footwear. Jack's not here, so that opens up the floodgates and we're going to go all in. So with the footwear conversation, we're just going to talk about what to look for, and then some of the things that we found helpful with each shoes that we've tried this year, and some of the things that we're looking forward to in 2024. Because I'm excited, man. I don't know if I'm just locked in further than I've been before, but there are some shoes coming out this year, or if shoe companies are just being that much more creative, these new compounds and everything that they're coming up with, and just it seems to be opening up different doors for people to develop different types of shoes. So I'm just excited about all of them.
We're in an exciting time, of the year, because the running event just happened.
We got to go.
And so Everyone, yeah, well, I think we need to be there.
We got to go
We
there.
may not get a booth yet, but we need to be there.
We need to be there talking to people. Yeah, booth. I don't
Two
know.
years.
2 years, 2 years, 2 years.
But so we got that industry momentum right now, but we see these like peaks and valleys in the industry. And since I've become aware of shoes, the biggest launch of like technology first started when Nike started with the free.
Oh
Suddenly
yeah,
everyone went scrambling like, oh, is minimal the way to go now that Nike's doing it? And they found ways to strip weight out of shoes. And then Hoka went maximal and they're like, we can make shoes big, but we've learned from free that we can make them light. And what if we combine those two? And then that was like the new big thing. And then carbon shoes came out and it just went like, can we make them stiffer? Can we make them bigger? Can we strip weight down? And now we're to the end of like that. Let's just go maximal. And now I feel like we're starting to see the sub maximal and the melding of the worlds again, which is like mid high stack super shoe racers, where it doesn't all have to be pushing the boundaries of the highest, and sub super
right.
shoes like the tempo range, which really is the hybrid world.
It's
So
up our alley.
we're starting to see people experiment and fine tune after the huge like space race happened.
And that's interesting. Like bringing up Hoka is they were, and they seem to always be this way, where they just kind of do something like they're not married to any specific way of doing. In the beginning, it
Yeah.
was like the maximal, but then they had a bunch of like lower profile shoes too, and you thought they were just going to be like the big cushy shoe, and they really have never been just that. And now it seems like the whole industry is taking that on as well, because it was like we're Brooks, we do it this way, and or we're
Mm-hmm.
Asics, and this is how we do it. And now everybody's making all the different types of shoes, like you said, like not just sticking to one different concept. They're taking what they've learned from all these concepts and applying them, like kind of like uh, going backwards now. And like you said, putting what they've learned into all the different types of categories that they had before, as opposed to being like, oh, we're the company that does this. Now all the companies do all of the stuff. So it gives us
Mm-hmm.
way more options, especially for us when preparing for hybrid, where we don't, again, it's the same thing when it comes to the studies that you mentioned and like trying to piece it all together for footwear. We're doing the same thing.
Yeah. And Nike caught everyone with their pants down. They came out with a product while there were only whispers of Nike working on a product.
Hmm.
And so the industry was 5 years of research and development behind. And Nike patented so many versions of what they're doing, and so many, in specific, the carbon plate. They patented so much of their work that people were like, the best we can do is copy to a lesser extent the Alpha Fly and the Vaporfly.
Hmm.
And I think we're finally to the point where they got caught up as close as they could get and realized we can do it differently. And now they're doing it differently. You're seeing Mizuno doing their own thing, and New Balance is now doing their own thing, and Saucony is for sure doing their own thing. Asics is doing their own. They're taking, like, they got their product out to compete with it, but I think we're starting to now see their brand specific version of it doesn't have to be a Vaporfly
Right.
knockoff. We can do some wild stuff.
And like, yeah, the patents, do you know what those are? Like what they, is it just like the geometry? Because
Yeah,
like
like
there's
scoop angles
stuff like
and
right, which because they were first and people got these incredible results from it, doesn't necessarily mean they're the best. I mean, and that we've seen
no.
that from Nike running for decades now, that they might not have the best like specialty run product.
Yeah, and the thing about, like, as you well know, super shoes is that they have to be mated to your foot stride and body type.
Uh huh.
Like the Vaporfly is just considered the greatest super shoe ever. It's the fastest shoe. And I haven't yet found a reason to reach for that shoe
Mm.
because I don't like it. If it were the only option, I would use it. But there are shoes that feel better for my stride. And everyone, not everyone, most people talk about how it saves their legs. That shoe beats me up more than other shoes do. Just doesn't work for me. So while that's the perfect scoop to their plate and the way it's positioned and how it works is patented and locked down, and everyone's like, oh, we can't use that perfect. It's not perfect for everyone.
Right.
And other brands, I think, are just realizing we can make things differently. And I'm forgetting who it is. I don't know if it's New Balance or someone is now doing the first variable length plates for shoe sizes. They finally realized like one plate we can't put in size 6 through 13. Like we're changing the distance, the length of the plate and the angle slightly depending on the size of the shoe so that it interacts for every body type rather than just it has one way to be used and you're gonna land a little differently on it. If you have
Hmm.
2 more inches of foam front and back than a different shoe, like the brands are starting to use things the way they know how to because I think they grasp the tech now.
That makes more sense. It feels like that's something they should have done from the start. But again, you need to make sure the demand is there before you're
Mm-hmm.
putting out all the supply of stuff. Like, but now, like I run my like easy zone 2 runs in plated P-Buff foam.
Yeah.
You know, that's now what we're coming with. Like there's everyday trainers that have plates in them. And then just like the experience is just superior for me. And I might be like one of those, like you're talking about each foot, each strike. Like for me, I've never run in Vapors, but Alpha, they say 4%. I probably get, I don't know, 20% from that.
I think I'm 10 seconds per mile different in the alpha.
It like,
Could be 12 sometimes.
I think when I'm here at altitude, I just neutralize it. I'm like, okay,
Mm.
I'm probably down 10 because I can't breathe, but I'm plus 10 because I'm running faster than what I would typically run. And it just kind of leaves me at where I would be at sea level, kind of.
Yeah. It's obviously not like across the board. Like I can't, if I go for a 10-mile run, I can't be 10 seconds faster for 10 straight miles.
Mm,
But if I'm doing reps and rest in between, I can be 10 seconds faster on every rep
mm,
because it allows me to work harder and my heart rate goes up, but it's not as muscularly costly. So as long as I get to rest and bring my heart rate back down, I can get more good work done. But I can't just go run all my runs 10 to 15 seconds faster because I'd be working at a harder zone despite it not feeling harder.
right, right. So they're great tools for training for sure, and
Hmm.
also for races and racing in like in the hybrid area or even like trail. We can talk about some because now they're trying to apply these concepts to the trail,
Right.
which I don't know if they've necessarily found great success with yet. And I'm not into the trail as much. I follow it a little bit, but I know they've tried playing around with the plates. I know they've tried playing around with the super foam. But there's just so many more variables there that it's going to be hard to make it like a 1-to-1. Like, okay, on the road, straight road 10 miler, you can expect this from this shoe, like
Hmm.
undulating 10 miler with 1700 feet of gain on the East Coast versus West. It's like just harder to like lock down, in my opinion. What have
Yeah.
you seen from the trail stuff?
Well, first, in theory, I look at carbon plated shoes like aero bars for a bike, where the benefit of it rises the longer you can stay in the position.
Hmm.
So, like with aero bars, if you're constantly up and down, you're not accruing the benefit. Like the wind resistance, everything that you're getting from it, the force, the drag reduction, all of that, it adds up the longer you stay tucked. But every
Hmm.
time you come up out of it, like it stops filling up your, let's just call it like an energy bar,
I
even though
see.
that's not what it is. Like it starts to go up and then it stops.
It's like
Then it
exponential
starts to go
kind
up and
of, right?
stops.
Okay.
And it's not, you're not like, what do you do with that? Not much. But if you can sit in there, like tucked there for 2 hours straight, you're just like, it's just rising, 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 rising. And by the end of it, you're just much fresher
Hmm.
or you've gone faster with it. And I look at shoes the same way. The more uninterrupted your stride is, the more strides you're getting in with the propulsion benefit and the reduction in impact force and all the things that go along with it. But every time you have to turn or cut or break or heel strike or do something that's not the stride that that shoe can help you do better, you're not benefiting in that moment. And so like in a trail race over the course of 10K, normally you might take every single stride. Let's just say 10,000 steps. I don't care if that's mathematically accurate.
Whatever. It
10,000 of
works.
them on the road will be useful. On the trail, if it's twisty, 1,000 might be useful.
Hmm.
So the other 9,000, you have to weigh out, did I lose more in those 9,000 than I gained in my 1,000? And that's what they can't figure out. So they have to start, they've tried like Hoka's thing where they have dual carbon plates rather than one across, they have two, like a
Right.
jet's, not jet, snowmobile, where
Uh-huh.
it gives some structure to the foam, but it allows you to have some
Right.
torsional stability. But anytime it opens up flat, There's no propulsion to it. All it's doing is helping the foam rebound off each other,
which is something.
which is great, but it's not a super shoe. Or you get a rock to it. There are some trail shoes that have a rocker to it, but you can't use it on technical descents. You can't
Right.
use it on technical flat running. So it's not as propulsive as a road shoe, but it's not as stable as a trail shoe. So now it comes down to stride type. Can you stay on your forefoot through these terrains or not? So some people can get a benefit, some can't. So each round of shoes coming out, they've tried to refine how they use a plate. Do we use a half length or 3/4? And they put winglets on the side to help with stability. And this year, we're seeing the first examples of shoes that can actually help you on the flats without hurting you as much on moderately technical terrain. So this is like year one of actual shoes where I would consider using it for an advantage.
Because it did seem like it was like plate for the sake of having a plate for a
100%.
while and like market it. Be like, you see what happens when you put plate in a road shoe? Now we're on the trails. And you think about it in concept, you're like, but like, what about all this uneven terrain? Like the plate's gonna not move. And then you said like they're splitting them or whatever. And then it's like, well, what? Like in concept, maybe, but like it's just for the sake of doing it. So,
Right.
but you're right. Now that they're given some time to figure it out, maybe they'll just dump it completely at some point, and the foam itself. I mean,
so they have two. So Adidas Terex Speed. What are they? I wrote down the actual name on this one because Adidas has like the worst naming system on earth. So this would be the Agravic Speed Ultras. These are the ones that have been on like Tom Evans' foot and different people like that for like 3 years. We've been waiting on this to come to production, and they finally have. It won Western States in the second fastest time ever, took second or third at UTMB. They finally have this shoe that's all supercritical foam. It's the Light Strike Pro. It has a carbon plate in it, and it's somewhat stable. This is the issue. That's the Terex Agravic Speed Ultra or Terex Agravic Ultra. We are looking for the Agravic Speed Ultra. No Terex. Agravic Speed Ultra.
Duh.
They are like an equation when they name their shoes.
They did this with the marathon shoe too, right? What is it? The Adios, the new one that's like 4 point something ounces. It's like but it's a bunch of names that they have in all their other shoes, and they just like dumped it in this one.
All right, so let's scroll down until
these are videos. These are available?
So top left
this
picture
one?
there. Yeah, click on that one. They may not even be for sale yet. They're coming out this year, but you can see that it's not a full length plate, but it has that road shape to it.
It's big. It's rocked really.
It's got the rocker.
Considerable.
Yeah. So this is one of the first true super shoes that you can take on a trail, but they all have their limitations. They're good on smooth to moderately technical. And North Face has their Summit series, their Summit Sky, which is what Albin races in, and they have some actual benefit to them, but mostly that's about leg saving because of the super foam, and the plate can stabilize the foam so it's not so squishy and shifty on the trail. So in my opinion, the rocker shape is most beneficial for propulsion with or without a plate on the trail. And then the plate should be involved only to stabilize the super foam. So you get super foam benefit, but you don't just like snap your feet out to the side every time something shifts.
Right.
That's where like the sweet spot is right now.
Is that where something like, are there rods in here?
So Adidas uses the rods, which I think from the start I've believed is going to be very useful on the trail. They changed the rod. There's only 4 now in the front, and there's like a split rod in the back rather than a cup on the heel. It's like a 2-prong rod, I believe. They'll show it if you scroll down far enough.
I want to see this. And that's
there you go.
Okay, here they are. So yeah, like
a spider.
Yeah. I mean, and that makes sense for a trail, right? And having like you mentioned, who is it? The Hoka has the fork. I mean, that's not going to be under the foot as much, where this is going to give you a little bit of that while being able to still get that compression of the foam.
Yeah.
All right. Should we back up a little bit?
Let's back up.
Let's back up. So when it comes to what to look for in these shoes, there's a lot of jargon that can get tossed around.
Hmm.
And even what we're talking about there, and there was like little nuance. I was like, oh, this rods that they use, these are PIBA rods. They're not carbon rods. And like, okay, what is the compound of the rod matter? And like, does it matter? And why are they doing that? So we could kind of go all the way back to the foam part right now, or when you're looking for something to kind of be like, okay, what am I looking for with this shoe? What do you think the first place is to start? And what do you want to talk about first? We got hybrid, we got OCR, and we got like regular road.
I
OCR would
suppose
just
we
call trail.
start with road because that's where this began. And
Yeah,
I think it's the least beneficial for OCR. I think there's
so
only
far.
two shoes that could be considered super-ish for trail that would have any benefit to OCR.
Which ones?
Tecton X,
Hmm.
and
The
then
grip on those is not great. It's not that great.
it's not great, but depending on the course, like we saw Basilico use them in Greece. That's the shoe I would have brought to Greece as well.
Yeah, because it's pretty hard and dry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I've fallen in love with the shoe now. It took a while to break in, which I've never needed to in a Hoka, but it makes sense. It's stiffer.
that's interesting because I haven't given it that much time.
I
So
disliked
maybe
it at first.
I mean it's just like I think the with Hoka, I just think the speed goat is just it. So I'm like, I could wear the
Yeah.
Tecton today, but I could put on the speed goat and know I'm gonna have a great time.
And the thing is, the Speedgoat has been my shoe until the 5. Now it still is, but they've lost a little bit of forefoot density.
Huh.
And it just feels softer or more flexible in the forefoot, which for me personally, with my stride, I need some forefoot density. If there's some flexibility or softness to the forefoot that feels like I go through too much, I get the neuroma feeling and I feel beat up on runs.
Huh.
So the Tecton X solves that for me, but I didn't like the shoe at first. But as I've loosened it up a little bit, I like the shoe now.
I got to give it a couple more spins because
But I
that's how I'm
hate having
feeling.
to break in a shoe.
That doesn't make sense. And that's something in general, a break in time. I feel like that's old school mentality with like basketball shoes. Because right
Yeah.
now, for like a road shoe, you should be able to put that thing on and go run a race. People, you
Right.
shouldn't just because it's going to be unfamiliar, but it should probably be broken in just the way that they're able to kind of cut grooves into the outsole, and just like the foam is just so much nicer now. Like they've figured out ways to make it feel awesome on foot like immediately. So in terms
Immediately.
of break in time, I don't even think that's really a thing.
The only thing that we find is that with shoes using like a what do they call it? Jacquard upper or a matrix upper, there is some stretch to it that happens around like 50 to 100 miles.
Hmm.
Like the Spigo 5, for example, that upper will stretch slightly. And so over the course of like my first pair of speed goats, I did a 4 mile test run and then ran a 50K the next day because I ripped through my shoe 3 days prior to the race. I was like, I don't have another shoe that could even run an ultra. So, and it was perfect. But now this shoe, it would loosen up slightly throughout that first run as it gets wet and stretches a little bit. But other than that, I agree. There should not be a break-in period to shoes anymore.
And I actually like those Pico fives. I think I like the
I
upper.
like
I like the
them.
fit. I think it's a little bit easier to like manage to get on and off the foot, which I mean doesn't matter that much. But to me, when I was trying to put on like the threes, I'm like, oh my god, like they don't feel good right when I put my foot in.
I
Where the
see that.
fives are a little bit better than with that.
The 5 is the best fit,
Uh
but the
huh.
3 and the 4 outsole felt a little denser to me,
Hmm. Hmm.
which the way I use the shoe is for recovery or longer or long races. I wanted that. I could give up that extra ounce that the 5 lost for that just like bulletproofness. The 5 feels a little less bulletproof under my feet and a little more flexible side to side.
Hmm.
And so I get like mini micro rolls on rocks that I didn't get in the 3s and the 4s.
Hmm. That's interesting. Because
And I
to me,
run
it's
some pretty technical stuff.
because I mean, it's to me, it's still like the most bulletproof of all any other trail shoe that I have. So
Right.
it's
It's
like
all relative.
I'm going. I'm running over these rocks.
I
It's
probably put
happening.
2,000 miles on the 3s and the 4s.
Oh wow,
So
really?
when the 5s came out, it was like, I noticed something different.
Right. Right.
Anyway,
Right.
let's start with road. So you have
Oh,
the super critical foam, whether it's P-backs or whether it's, I mean, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but basically they take regular style foam and they either inject a certain type of like nitrogen into it, or they have it already and they superheat it. And then as things expand, they like rapidly cool it and they have a new slab that is twice or 3 times as big as it used to be. but containing the same amount of material as it used to be as well.
Mm.
So now you cut
So
that
you don't
down.
add weight.
Yeah, you basically get 2 to 3 times the density of it, maybe not density, but volume out of the same material. So it rapidly expands when it's superheated. That's the really low level way of explaining this. So you get the same amount of foam for much less weight, or the same weight for much more foam.
Mm.
And generally, it has a more reactive bounce to it. It returns energy better. The downside is it's less durable and it's squishier because there's more pockets of air or gas in there that can deform. And
Mm.
so this is where the plate comes into play. The plate gives structure to the foam. They place the plate somewhere in the middle, what? In the middle or plus or minus 30% of that towards the bottom or towards the top generally.
Four
And
foot
that,
ish. It'll like mid to 4 foot, like from your arch to right before your toes, kind of.
yeah. And then the where it sits from road to foot depends on the type of foam they use and how
And
their
how
company
much,
wants
how
to do
stacked
it.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. But it gives structure to the foam. The foam squishes until it hits that hard plate and then it comes back up towards you. And the same thing with the road beneath it. But it's not just one big slab that can just squish left and right. The foam or the plate is almost like, as they say in the industry, like a carrier. It's like a cage for it.
Mm-hmm.
But it also can have curvature to the plate, which is what Nike discovered. That if you
Mm.
put curvature to it, the plate is stiff and won't bend, and the shoe rocks and snaps forward with it, which can give you a quicker stride and faster ground contact time while having the foam returning more energy off the ground and off the plate. And that's what makes it super. You have a foam and a plate working together to enhance your running.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like the low level science behind why and what super shoes are and what they do.
And if we're talking like technically super shoe, we do have to talk about plate in there as well. But like we talked about up front, companies are now being like, oh, what if we just don't have, what if we have this foam without the plate? Like, what kind of experience would that give you? And then it can kind of cut the cost out a little bit. And it
Mhm.
is, to me, a superior experience. Like, I prefer this PIBA foam over like old school EVA, like
Yes.
almost with any type of run that I have coming up. So there are still EVA shoes, and the price point, and that's probably how you're gonna be able to tell different is the price point on most of the EVA will might be a little bit less. I
For
guess would be
sure.
the like if you're a consumer looking at two different shoes, one is PIBA, one is EVA, like the shoe company is going to have some proprietary term that won't mean anything to you, like Light Strike Pro versus what's their EVA called, or called Boost, right? Whatever. That's not what they
And
use in
even
everything,
Boost
but
was a TPU to start with, I
right.
believe.
And that's really where this all kind of started. When Boost came
Yeah.
out, man, that was like, whoa. I was working for Brooks at the time, and I went to a running store. Like, you try these on, these are actually amazing, because Adidas wasn't really a player before Boost, and they're like, these are like the real deal, and they were, and they were.
Yeah. And they were dense though and heavy. It was heavier than other foam. And
Uh-huh.
people took that and run. And then I think I credit Skechers to taking it to the next level.
We ride with Skechers, dude.
Yeah, they were the first ones, in my opinion, to make the next level of Boost, in which it had the bounciness similar to Boost.
They had a TPU.
I don't know exactly what it was, but what do they call it? Skechers was oh, I'm embarrassed. Do I have one up here?
How dare you? Because I don't. The first time I tried Skechers was the Razor, and
Yeah,
I
the
don't,
Razor had it.
that was what they had, and then I think it was like the next level of it. Anyway,
I'm oh, I should know this, and it's embarrassing that I don't. However,
should be
they
embarrassed.
stripped weight out of it. So the first time I put on a Razor, it was noticeably bouncy, but so light. And theirs was still dense enough that you didn't need a plate or anything. It was just a fun, squishy, bouncy foam.
This wasn't Hyperburst, or is that's their new?
Hyperburst.
Is that
Yeah.
okay?
They have Hyperburst there on like V4 of Hyperburst
So
now, and it
does it have?
feels
Is it
much
a
different.
PIBA in there now?
I don't know what it is.
I don't know. They actually call this the supercritical, like you mentioned. That they have a trademark next to that on the website.
Hmm.
Oh, not
So
Hyper,
they took
whatever.
it and they made it to what we're seeing now, which is like a almost super foam, but with no plate because theirs was dense and had structure to it, but it
Mm.
was light. And that's what we're seeing now is that they'll give like a regular EVA or denser foam as like a cage to it as a structure, and then plop the super foam in the middle. So you get all the squish and rebound, but you get some structure to it. and you don't have to have a plate, so it's not like forcing your foot to do something or causing, because plates cause issues with some people. You don't have that in these, and Brooks does a great job with this. I think that a lot of shoes are doing this. Hoka's using this now, and it's
I think the
working.
Mach X has that. It's like a dual foam, and
Mhm.
that's been honestly my favorite
The Mach
trainer.
has it now too. The
The
new
regular
Mach 6 gets supercritical foam, I believe, and the Mach X2 has a bit of a plate in it.
and that the Mach X2 I think is going to go all PIBA,
All
but this one that I've been wearing I think it is dual foam,
dual, yeah.
and I think there is a plate.
There is in that one as well.
Yeah,
But the
but
Mach 6 now gets supercritical foam. The Tecton X has a layer of regular foam and a layer of critical foam.
right, right, right,
Like
right.
trail shoes use this. That's what Adidas is doing. They'll have Light Strike, and then they'll have Light Strike Pro in there as well. And they kind of give each other structure and cushion at the same time. They're balancing out weight, structure, cushion, but all of it combines to enhance your shoe because it's lighter and has better cushion and better energy return for you.
And if you're not putting a plate in and it's not the critical foam, I always think about it from that perspective. Like if you're putting a EVA below a PIBA, the price is probably a little bit cheaper, so you can
Price
reach a
is
different
cheaper,
consumer.
easier on your legs too.
Oh yeah, dude, the Mach X is balling.
Yeah.
I get shots. He's like, I'm great, and he's like, man, they're heavy. They are heavy, but I don't even care. I love them.
Okay.
Look
So
forward
that's
to
what they did on the roads. And then we get to Hyrox. Then we get to Deca. We're in the hybrid space, and everyone wants to improve their running. And I
it.
think super shoes are great for hybrid running because you come off so compromised that if something can tip your foot forward a little bit or give you a little extra pop off the ground, it just gets you moving out of the station. And then once you're there, you basically run the way Dylan Scott looks in all of his treadmill training videos, where his legs are just like flicking forward and he's got
Yeah.
this long, beautiful stride. And it doesn't look like he's working hard, but he looks fast. That's kind of how super shoes make you feel. And that's
Mm.
what you want to feel on your runs in between stations. So, like in the perfect world, super shoes are made for hybrid because they reduce your cost. And then we're running 8x1000 in Hyrox on hard, polished pavement. That just damages you, and super shoes will take away some of that impact. So, in theory, it's made for the running of hybrid,
hmm hmm But
but
they're made for running on the road, like
straight,
straight. Even
straight.
like if you, what's the what's the most super shoe you would take on a track to run a 5K?
I
Would you
would take
do?
any shoe
You
for a
would.
5K,
Okay. Okay.
but for a mile, I like probably RC Elite or Metaspeed, something stable and lower.
Yeah, because even the turns on a track, which are very nice and easy compared to what we'll get in a Hyrox or a Deca, it feels like not stable. It feels like you can't run. Like if you pop on some alpha flies and try to run around a turn, it's still kind of
Right.
like, whoa, like
If we,
you're breaking a little bit.
yeah, and you're tipping your foot doesn't get locked down the same way, and the foam gives a little bit. In a straight line, the plate does great, but on the side, like there is a distinct edge to it, and it doesn't come in most shoes all the way out to the edge of the foam because you don't need that in running straight line. And so you can actually just like squish over the side. And if you look back to track and field before they put the stack height rule on the track at NCAA nationals, you could wear any shoe you wanted on the track. And like 99% of the people in the 10K had on super shoes. Most were in Vaporfly or Alpha Fly.
Oh,
In
is
the
that right?
5K, it was like 75 or 80%. And in
Huh.
the mile, it was nobody
Yeah, no,
in
no,
the
no.
1500. Because even though they're running the same turn angle, adding the torsion, that force of turning faster and harder, none of them could sustain it. And it was too sketchy. If you got your feet tangled, like you were going to fall, there was no agility to it. And that's what we run into in hybrid, which is a lot of 90-degree turns. And then some things where you get a little unstable with your movements and you
Hmm.
can't have this crazy squish or instability. You need foot lockdown. You can't have your heel come out of it on a push or a pull. You can't slide forward out of the shoe in a sled pull. So now suddenly you take all the available super shoes and it's whittled down to what could be possibly stable enough to handle a Hyrox or a Deca.
And it seems like the running shoe companies are finding that the stability is something the consumer wants, in particular on the upper, right? Like in the beginning, we'll use Nike as an example because they were the first. Like it was almost like they wanted to strip away as much weight as they possibly could because of how much foam was underneath the foot that they were worried about like the weight of the shoe. So they left nothing on the upper. So it became very unstable. But now it seems like they are making either, and then Saucony is another good example of this because they made out the Endorphin Pro 3, which was basically their Alpha Fly or Vaporfly response. But then they're like, let's make something more road specific and we can give a little bit more structure to the Endorphin Pro 3 because they came out with the Endorphin
Elite.
Elite, right?
And that has like actual straps, like a midfoot strap up over the top, it looks like.
And that's the only thing that is kind of keeping you in that because
Yeah.
it's stacked so high and rocks so aggressively that's where like, hey, if you are going to be doing straight line stuff, here you go. But this Endorphin you might be able to put on for any of your road racing, like from 5K up.
And it's everyone that's listening that drove this. The pros don't really care.
Right.
Because they're on their forefoot running 4:30 pace the entire time for a marathon.
And they're picking
they
their courses. Care. Yeah. And they're like, this is a course that will work. Like they're not doing windy, crazy.
No, they're running time trial courses. They weigh 115 to 130 pounds.
Right.
And they float.
You can push no sled.
Yeah. And they're just beautiful runners. They can take turns in a way that we can't.
Right.
They just glide. But the everyday runners are like, I can't handle this for running Boston. I can't run my local race in this. It's just too, I can't turn. I can't trust it. I get caught in the pack and I'm nervous. I'm going to clip people. And so they had to make slightly more restrained versions of these, which are still ounces lighter than what shoes used to be, but with more practicality. And those are the ones we can look to that some of them do work for hybrid. And to the point where I don't think I would do a Hyrox without a super shoe at this point, because I feel like I would be holding myself back a little bit with 30 plus minutes of running. I would lose out.
Yeah. And that's where we keep trying to figure out, like, where is the balance? Like, what can we give up with the rubber underneath or with the turn, like with the turn stability? And for a sport where there's no shoe developed specifically for it.
Yeah.
But it's exciting that shoe companies are now making super shoes for the everyday consumer because that's going to be closer to what we're doing here at Hybrid.
Yeah. And for Hyrox specifically, I would actually give up stability for grip. Most of Hyrox is still straight line.
Yeah.
And you can take wide angles on the turns. I think in most courses, other than like New York City or something like that, you're going to be fine.
You're not running that fast, like the speed that you're running is not what you'd be doing a 5K.
Yeah, exactly. But giving up 2 minutes on the sleds because what they have done, what they have figured out, and it was genius on these road super shoes, is they can take the thinnest strip of just plain rubber or some sort of material that's similar to rubber, like 1 millimeter thick, and just lay it down in the patches that are needed on a shoe with no grooving, no tread whatsoever. And on pavement, it's great.
It's good.
It's like a road bike tire. But it does not like dust on polished pavement, and it does not like carpet.
Yeah. No.
So it doesn't give you traction and grip when you need to bear down on the sleds or turn sharp in Deca.
And this has been the problem with the Adidas shoes.
Yes.
They just haven't been like the Takumi Sen is made for Deca, but you just like you can't get traction on a sled that doesn't have any weight on it on the floor. Like it's just not going to work.
Which is ironic because it has probably, in my opinion, the second best road grip of any super shoe out there.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I do. I think that Continental, just slab of rubber that's really thin is the best gripping in dry or wet other than Puma grip.
And
but it sucks on dust.
It just sucks on dust. And like, yeah, I will notice that. I ran a race with one of them and then went outside for a cool down and immediately feel like, oh, okay. That this is for this, not for in there.
In fact, I did some of the super shoe testing I did on a morning that we'd had a little bit of drizzle overnight and some patches had frozen. And I did Hoka Carbon X2 and Nike Alpha Fly, RC Elite 2s. I did the Metaspeed Skies, and I did the Adios Pro 2. And the Adios Pro 2 is the one that had the best grip in that.
Huh.
And it wasn't even that close. But indoor on dust, since it has no grooves, it can't channel the dust and find purchase. It just slides like hydroplanes.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Literally like a hydroplane on it.
Yeah. So we need
Um,
rain tires for indoor. So you start looking at some of these shoes, and the first thing you have to look at for Hyrox, the very first thing I do for hybrid when I'm looking at a new super shoe that comes out, is I check the soles.
Flip it over.
You go online, look at
It's
the
always the
pictures,
last
and
picture too, because it's the one that people care
yep,
about the least. So you can go the opposite way.
right to the last picture and see, are there grooves of any sort? And if there are no grooves of any sort, it's a non-starter for me. And then the second thing is, all right, or co-first is there rubber?
There's a
Because
coverage.
some of these shoes, like the Saucony Kinvara Pro, on paper seems pretty good. A sub super shoe, but it has that blown EVA or foam outsole that's just hardened.
Oh, is that
And
what
that
it
is
is? Is it all? Is that
very
an EVA
slick.
midsole? Is it the same? The
No, it's
Kinvara
got
Pro?
it's got what is that? What do they use? Power Run PB?
Yes. Oh, it does.
I think it's got Power Run PB.
But they didn't put
But
any rubber on it?
no, it's just that blown outsole.
Oh my God.
Now double check. You might want to pull it up while we're talking, but
Uh,
Hoka's the same way with their Carbon X. They have this
yes, in the beginning, their first attempt at that,
one
they did.
and one. They just used hardened foam on the outside, which works really good on rough pavement, but on polished concrete or on carpet, it has no purchase
Oh,
whatsoever.
I see.
So they put these ridges in these shoes.
Hmm. So again, for the
That
sake of weight, is why they do this.
yes, but it doesn't help us in the hybrid sphere.
Not at all. So if there's no rubber at all, that's a big time no. And really, if there's rubber, sometimes we'll just put it like along the big toe, along the outside, and sometimes that's it. Sometimes you'll just get those
Mhm.
spots. I kind of need full 4 foot coverage at least.
Okay. I don't necessarily need that.
I would
See
prefer
what I
that.
have here to show.
Looks like the Kinvara is a dual foam.
So here's kind of what I'm talking about. They just put this
Mhm.
really thin, no ridged version of foam on the bottom. And then there's all these cutouts.
Of rubber
Cutouts
on the
don't
bottom.
matter to
Yeah.
me much, but
Well, that's still
there's no
full
grip.
4 foot. I mean, that's yeah, right. This is like half there. It's full 4 foot rubber coverage,
Right.
but without the grooves in it. So then
No
it's no
grooves.
dice. That's no dice. What
Whereas
shoe
you
is
go
that?
to, that was the Adios Pro 2.
Adios, bro.
But then you go to the consensus favorite for a lot of the pros right now, the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3, and you see that they have these kind of chevron shapes here.
It's like multi-directional.
Yeah. And it
And there is
just
some
gives
there's some grooves on those chevron deals, right?
early on, they wear off quick, but
The grip
a
on
lot
the
of coverage
yeah,
and there's a pattern. If you can see a pattern, that's a good starting point.
that's a huge one. Is some sort of pattern on the rubber. If it's raised a little bit, the way that if the pattern is raised is big. This is an interesting one with where it's like the cutouts, like it's full rubber. This is one of the this is how Asics is doing
Metaspeed
their
Sky.
Metaspeed Sky. And Brooks seems like they're coming out a couple shoes that look this way as well, where it's
Mm-hmm.
rubber. It's like a full rubber, like, and there's grooves on it, but then they cut holes in the rubber, so it's like kind of raised. But I
Yeah. And
don't.
if you look close, these have a little bit of actual pattern behind it as well, little grooves.
Yes, for sure.
Works very good turning on pavement, on polished. The grooves do a good job. In fact, it's kind of reminiscent on the bottom of a basketball bottom to some extent. It's less good than the Endorphin Pro on the sled, but it's still acceptable.
How about for the pull?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I did our doubles together in this.
Oh yeah.
Not that that sled's crazy heavy, but it was noticeably worse than the RC Elites.
Well, those are like this is like straight up teeth.
Yeah, these have actual teeth to them. But here's the other thing. There are two types of rubber, I think, that get used. There's soft rubber and there's firm rubber. And the more firm the rubber is, like these, the more slippery it is on slick surfaces. And this is where trail shoes get into trouble
Yes.
in hybrid.
Yes.
A
And
lot
that's
of people
something with
say, go ahead.
just with those with the RC Elites, like having it be hard and raised. Like if it was hard and not raised, I think it would be better because
Maybe.
there's there with those I'm actually not sure because those are like cleats, right? That's like they don't really make road shoes like that.
I don't know why they did.
I don't
To
know
be
why they
honest,
did either.
it's overkill.
Do you think? Actually, Johnny Little Lima hit me with this tip. There's a place in Boulder, and I'm sure there's places around too. It's probably You could probably open up a shop in your basement like this. Well,
Cobbler.
yeah, they'll take a bottom. Like, do you think that the RC Elite bottom could work on like an Alpha Fly?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
What would you put it on if you had the RC Elite bottom and you could stick it on
Hmm.
any shoe for Hyrox?
I think what I would do. I don't know if I have this shoe up here. I showed it one time. I did it for a pair of shoes for Rob Pettyjohn, the original
Well, you
Endorphin Pros 1
put
and
nails
2.
in it.
I put a little strip. They had a horseshoe pattern. I'll be able to show it. I'm not gonna be able to show it well, but imagine that there was like a strip here of a different rubber. I took that strip out and put a similar strip in that had little teeth on it.
Right. Yeah, I
That's what I
remember.
would do. I would have that RC Elite 1 rubber in just like tactical patches or a channel on the forefoot so that when I wanted to dig down into the carpet, it would grip, but I'd have enough other pieces outsole there that I could turn on pavement. That's perfect world for me.
That might
And
actually be
Adidas used to do that. Adios, the Adidas Adios, probably, let's say 3. Can you pull up a picture of that?
sure.
They used to have a bottom like this that I think is the hybrid bottom. I could be wrong on this. Maybe it's Adios 2.
We're getting there. We're getting there. I had to sneeze. Had to mute myself. These are the
We're we're
threes.
diving way back into
Well,
the archives of
this
shoe
is
knowledge.
this is important. This is real important stuff because that would be something, right? Like if you could take some of the RC, these ones you're talking about,
No, no, just Adios, Adidas Adios 2, not Pro. This is just a flat from back in the
freaking
day.
2 or 3.
Doesn't matter. I don't know if it's 2 or 3. I think it might be 2.
Adidas and their
You're gonna have to go
stupid
images.
names to get to the bottom. This
There
one.
they are. Yep. That's what I'm talking about.
So this has like big rubber along like the outside, and are those? Yeah, and
Those
I
are
guess,
RC Elite 1 style mini lugs
huh?
inside.
They are kind of like that. That is these would
So
work.
that's the bottom I would want for a hybrid shoe. Not necessarily as big on the outside there, but if you combine those two, it's kind of like Kent's Takumi Sam 6 or 7s.
Those are a lot like that. Yeah, like
Yeah,
the
some of
older
that
ones.
bottom, but with the rubber on the outside so that you could indeed grip in Deca.
So like, do you think if you had the Endorphin Pro, check out this fresh colorway, RMR colors, baby, that
Oh
gold,
yeah.
that white. Do you think you could put it like would a strip of because this works fairly well on concrete, the
Yeah.
Endorphin Pro threes. It's fairly suspect on the carpet. It's not a sure thing. It's been like 50
Hmm.
50 for me, where I've had good experiences and bad experiences. So do you think like they can take some RC Elite and put it in the way that you put it?
Yeah.
Or would that make any sense? Would that reduce the I feel like it'd be hard to get
I would put it
level.
I would put it laterally across like the midfoot, just where you would have to get the pull on the sled push. Like where like back almost like a
Like
third of the
here, right?
way through. Yeah, like right there or a little earlier is maybe where I'd put it just to get that. Or I'd put it up near the toe.
Because
I'm
that's
not
all
entirely
different.
sure though.
Yeah, the toe could work. I might go see this cobbler fellow.
I like that.
I got a fresh pair of RC Elites. I've worn like twice RC Elite 1, so I got the old pair. Maybe I'll start scooping up good on that Dick's Sporting Goods website and just scooping them up. Get the
Why not?
and just have them and just start sticking them on the Hoka Rocket X bottom or something like that.
But this bottom I think would make sense because you'd have your traction zones and you'd have your running zones almost.
Yes, and that's the issue, right? Is that we haven't found the perfect marriage of both of them, where the RC Elite ones, they're not that great on running on that concrete.
So this is why right here, the Mizuno Rebellion Pro fascinates me. I know you're not on board with it yet, but they're the new Rebellion Flash 2. I don't know if they changed the bottom, but they totally reconfigured the shoe itself. So
This is
now
the
it's like a mini pro.
oh, so this is they okay. This would be uh is there a plate in these?
There's a plate.
So this would be the Endorphin Pro to the Endorphin Elite.
I think so, unless it's the Endorphin Speed. It might be like a composite plate. You can see it doesn't have much curvature to it, but it's got that rocker shape. I don't know what the bottom of this looks like. I haven't seen the bottom. This is a new moment for me right here.
You see this? Is this the one that it's
Really?
sharing?
Can we zoom in? Because the other one had many little like teeth on it.
The ones I had, but it was
Yours didn't. I'm talking the pros. The pros
Yeah,
had these little
didn't.
teeth. This looks like it could be promising.
Could be okay.
But if you go to the Rebellion Pro 1, they have what I think would be the best sled push grip we've ever seen. Potentially,
they're just super wonky, right?
They're super wonky.
These are the ones that literally have the absence of a heel.
Yeah. And the reason they did this for people who are new to this shoe game is that World Athletics put in a maximum stack height at the heel rule of 40 millimeters. And so they cut the heel out. So the middle is like 45 or 48 millimeters, but the heel is down to like 32. So they circumvent weight and stack height rulings.
Is that for real?
That is 100% for real.
Okay, so that's funny. They're like, come on, guys.
So then if you look at the traction of these puppies.
These are like they actually look okay. Because they are a little bit raised.
Yeah, look at the forefoot. Look at how small they are. That would grip on carpet. And I think the ones are these the ones?
These are the ones.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, if you go to Running Warehouse, you can see them a little better, I think.
Oh, yeah, why am I not on Running Warehouse? That's where I should be. That's where I should live.
Anyway, the whole point of this is what Rich and I do every time a shoe comes out to try to figure out without having to buy it and test it is would this have like the bones needed to do well at Hyrox, which would be starting with the outsole, then figuring out, are they too tippy? Are they too squishy? Will they even fit in the rower in the straps?
Right.
Would they work for walking lunges, things like that, which I still believe these do. Rich, I don't think you use your heel at all.
Probably not. Probably not. And it's not like, I don't know how this, you still have a platform in which your heel is sitting on, right? It's not like you would just like fall over backwards with these.
No, you don't. But I think it's closer to an Alpha Fly walking sensation than it is anything else.
That would make sense. You got to flip the other way.
So if you click on these babies, you can see that those are raised.
Ooh, those are raised. Have you seen these in person?
No.
Might have to go find these in person.
This is my next test shoe.
Oh, yeah?
And now they're under 200. It's like, why not?
Have you found on the Running Warehouse, they only got Jack size 14.
Well, that went out quickly. What about the women's?
They got that skinny foot? It's the only size 8.
I don't think they do much. It's too small. We'll find them. Runner In usually has them.
Well, you wear like a size 9. Jack over here wears
I'm a 10.5.
10.5 on your license. 10 in real life. But the Rebellion Pro 2, geez, look at these things. Goodness.
Did they go more extreme?
The rocker looks more extreme, doesn't it?
Yeah. So like Deca, it would worry me for box step overs. But we'd have to try them.
We got to try these. What else are you excited about with
what am I excited about?
What are you excited about?
If we're looking up shoes right now.
This is interesting. This Mizuno Wave Rebellion 1 or 2
and the Flash 2.
And so the Flash, this is just going to be,
it's like their tempo shoe. What's the weight on that?
This is
8.6.
So
it's like the Endorphin Speed.
Yeah, I guess that would be what let's see what it says on tech. Because I'm not crazy. I don't know too much about this foam glass fiber plate. So I guess
their foam is, by everything I've read on them and watched videos and listened to, it is a firmer, bouncier foam. So it's more like a Light Strike Pro than it is a Zoom X.
Okay. Because that, for me personally, I like the sensation of a Zoom X, or the Hoka Piba is pretty similar, I've found, to Nike.
Yeah.
Just because it's like on foot and it feels different. You're like, oh, yeah, I like the soft. personally.
Yeah.
Because when I put on the Adidas ones, I had the Primex. I told you about those, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That are straight up illegal. I bought those
They're
on
very firm.
clearance. They're firm. It's like trampoline almost, but because when you get like when you first put them on, you're like, huh. But then when you get going, it's like you're rolling, you're rolling in them. This is interesting. Let me see what these bottoms look like. Do you like this bottom on this?
I think so, but it's like I now feel like I have to touch the bottom. If that's a softish, yeah, I like it a lot. Got mini grooves and it's got the diamond cut to it.
Yeah, the grooves and like
The little
the
ridges.
shape of them, that looks right. I don't love when. Have you had a pair of shoes? This happened to me with the razor, that when they're constructed kind of in like zonally like this, especially
Mhm.
over here in the midfoot, like when you push the sled, it peels off.
Yeah.
It's like so aggressive there, but maybe the plate would stop that.
So this is where I would shave down that foam that's exposed, that white foam, and put in one thin line of RC Elite ones. Now you got yourself a stew.
Now we're talking. Because yeah, I mean, this would make sense. Like if I'm worried about the Wave Rebellion Pro with lunges and wall balls that might be a problem. But I think these are kind of a problem with wall balls. The Endorphin Pro, I'll start tipping forward in these.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, and then that's the final thing outside of like heel lockdown, which you can't figure out until you put on, is that I personally struggle with higher drops.
Mm.
It puts a lot of stress on my quads and I end up getting quad pain.
Hmm.
So, like for example, 8 to 10 mil plus, it really stresses my legs.
The
So
drop, the
why?
drop. You're saying,
Yeah, so it's part of why I like the Metaspeed Skies. They're only like a 4 or a 6.
is that all?
I think they're like a 4. Yeah, they might even be a 4, which why I like Hoka. Hoka all sit around 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
It works really well for me. The the Vapor Flies aren't that comfortable. They're like a 10. The Alpha Flies were like a 4 or a 5. And so I like that feeling of transition.
And that's something I guess we can consider. I think if you know what you train in terms of
That's exactly it.
a drop, that should be where you'd want to lean into more. I used to care more about the drop before these super shoes came out. I used to like a little bit more of a low profile. Like a 4 was really a nice sweet spot for me. But with the super shoes, it's just like the benefit of the on foot feel just outweighs like
Okay.
the stability and lightness and nimbleness for me.
I get actual
personally.
discomfort.
While running?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I found that I get quad pain if the stack, and it's how the plate is combined too. The Endorphin Pro 3, those have to be like an 8 or a 10 mil drop, I would guess.
I think they're pretty high.
But the way that the plate is situated and the way that the heel is a little lower than the midfoot, it's a runnable shoe for me. But if the plate's aggressive and the drop's aggressive, it like compounds and I get quad pain.
Huh. It's an 8. It's an 8. Saucony. That's not bad. Because the Nikes are probably what, a 12?
I'd say 10.
Are they?
Yeah.
All right. So what are you excited about?
Looking forward, there's a few things. Sticking to where we're at right now, the Puma Fast R2 actually excites me. I like the Fast R1, but it wasn't like fully super.
It wasn't that super.
But it was good.
Great. The fit was amazing. I really enjoyed wearing those in for most of my like quality session runs. I would put them on the track. Like the lockdown was good. I liked them. I liked them
And
a
I
lot.
think that's enough for Hyrox. I don't know how super I need. I need something. But they've taken it up a notch. It's not supposed to be their stripped down shoe, so it has the better rubber than the Deviate Nitro 2 has. So it has a little more grip, but they've extended the plate up front.
No, it's not the right one.
Yeah,
Are these
I don't
out
think
yet?
they have the 2 for sale yet.
Okay.
But they've taken it up a notch. And so I'm excited about that one.
So talk to me about because that's the extended plate in the front. is not really something that we've seen. Like this, you'll
Mm-mm.
see like there's a spot where the toe box ends, and then it looks like the outsole extends beyond where your toe would be.
Yeah,
Right?
it's very strange.
Very strange.
Like a dress shoe almost.
Like, and why? What is that doing?
Supposedly a little extra spring off the front.
Are you seeing this, or are you on this one?
Yeah, I'm seeing that. So you can see that there's like a quarter to a half inch sticking out exposed past the foam in front. And it's supposed for like a little extra like flexion and spring off the toe off. I don't think most people get to that point off your toe. And I think this gets you to the front of your toe.
Oh, that's interesting. That's
That's my
interesting.
guess.
It's not rocked too aggressively. I mean, it's not going to be with this decoupled midsole.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's interesting to me. And
That's
it's way more stable than it looks. The first day I took it out and started jogging, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is way more stable. So I took it to a staircase. We have this like, there's 120 stairs and it also has zigzag walking path around it. And I did on the ones, but look at that grip.
it looks okay.
It's almost overkill.
Is that rubber though? It says Puma grip.
Yeah.
So
Which
it
is,
should be rubber.
yeah.
Because to me, this looks like exposed foam. But it's the same color.
Yeah, that's true. It does. But no, I believe it's rubber. Anyway, I did a stair workout up and down stairs. And I tried eventually to hit the stair in that decoupled slot. See what would happen. Nothing. It was
Could you even notice if
if
you
I
were
hit
getting
it just
there?
right, I could hear it and I could
You go
feel it like
backwards.
slide a little, but like, no, it was not an issue to the point where I finished that day and thought I would do a stadium in these shoes with confidence. And that doesn't look like a shoe you could do a stadium with confidence, but you can. So it's an interesting shoe to me.
It's very interesting. I'm interested in Puma's line in general. Like I think that they are doing a lot of really cool things. What do we know about the fast forward here?
They promote it as a track spike for the road. To me, it has one use, and that'd be a road mile, maybe a road 5K. But if you scroll down to the stats, it's not that light. Like it
Kent
wouldn't set you apart. 7.1,
7.1.
it's light, but it's not like, oh, this is a track spike for the road. It's there are shoes that lighter already. And so Kirk and I talk a lot about when you choose a race shoe, you don't choose a shoe that you feel the fastest in. You choose a shoe that you're going to feel the best in on the final mile in the second half of the race.
Huh.
This strikes me as a shoe that you're going to put on and be like, I've never felt this before. And with like 600 meters to go, you're going to be like, man, my stride doesn't work with the shoe anymore. Like, it's forcing me to run a certain way that I can't.
This one is the opposite of like the Wave Rebellion, where it's like no toe.
Mm-hmm. But also
It's
no heel.
also no heel.
People have said it runs smoother than it looks.
Ken grabbed a pair of these.
Did he?
He didn't have it. He doesn't have the right size of them, but he was like, dude, I like them.
Yeah.
He's pretty interested in them.
So based off the Fast R looking like it would be super unstable in it, I'd say it's one of the smoothest super shoes.
For sure.
If this follows, I mean, this is the same family. This is the cousin or the brother to that. I could understand that it would be smoother than it looks, but it looks like you'd be on a pair of clogs.
It looks ridiculous. To buy these online, it would be like a huge roll of the dice.
Yeah. Yeah. You better have some disposable funds
Free
or
returns.
you're just making a video that's going to be good, whether it's good or bad.
For sure. With Puma in general, what I'm excited about is that their fit is rock solid, and it seems like they're doing a really good job developing a pretty extensive line of shoes that do have like a super foam, and they're invested in Hyrox.
Yes.
Right? Like they may develop a Hyrox shoe. Like that's what rumblings are, is like that they're going to do that, and hopefully take all these things that we talk about all the time and put it into a super shoe package. My gripe with them is that they just don't feel that super. Like
No, they don't.
The Nitro Elite 2s, they're priced a little bit less than a super shoe at 200, but like I don't know, man. Like, do you have a pair of those? Do you have
I have the ones.
You have the ones?
And the foam is nice, but I think to get anything out of it, you would need like 5 more mil of foam and a more aggressive plate. They are like a souped up racing flat to me.
Yeah, that's how I would describe
If
them
this
as
came
well.
out 10 years ago, it'd be the greatest racing flat I'd ever worn.
They
It's
feel
really
really
light.
good. They
It
feel
feels
nice.
good. It's got good little like response to it, but it doesn't feel super.
I enjoy wearing them, but I want a little bit more. That's how I felt about the Fast R's too. I really, really enjoy
Yeah,
wearing them, but if I have those versus an Alpha Fly or a Rocket X, I'm like, these other two are doing more for me.
I agree. So speaking of doing more, but not doing enough, let's talk about Brooks.
You hate
Be-
Brooks, bro.
no, I like Brooks,
My
but I'm
God.
disappointed in their super shoes. I just don't think that they figured it. They haven't stopped being Brooks yet. I think
Yeah,
this next one, the what do they have? The Hyperion Elite 4 coming out.
they're up
I
to
think the
four.
yeah, the Hyperion Elite 3 you can get here. The
Yep.
4 doesn't look a ton different, but they have tweaked their foam and they have changed their outsole. And I think that it is set up to be a legit hybrid shoe because they're maybe the most stable super shoe. And they have actual like a bottom that I would maybe help design if I wanted a hybrid shoe. And if their foam has actually gotten a little better, this could be a legit player this year.
Brooks has done like they in, historically have done a really good job of like seeing where trends are going, waiting for the industry to kind of work itself out and then coming in and really nailing that
Mhm.
model or that trend.
In a
And you're
safe way.
yes. And you're right. Like for some reason they have not been able to do it as well with the super shoe as they have done in the past. And their foam, a lot of people might be familiar with the Hyperion Tempo, which is just calling the Hyperion now, I believe.
Yeah.
The foam is just like unremarkable. It's just like anything else that you would ever have worn. The fit's always going to be great. The grip on the bottom of the first Hyperion Tempo is amazing. But yeah, they haven't really figured it out. They haven't really figured it out, it seems. So this is the 4. It is up on their website.
And so it's going to be their best one yet. And the 3 was to the point where if I didn't care about feeling super, it's a shoe I would have run a Hyrox in. I believe they stripped this down a little bit. Do we have a weight on this?
We should look at this
You
plate.
probably I don't think Brooks will give you a weight. They might under specs.
7-8.
So
So
it's in the sevens, 8 mil drop, which is at the high end of acceptable, but means you might get a little tip forward out of it. And the outsole looks like a marriage between a super shoe and the Hyperion Tempo. And
uh-huh.
if the foam got any better combined with their upper, which is going to lock you down well, this is on my list of shoes where I feel I could put it on during warmups with no other options as my first time running in it and trust it for a Hyrox.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong on that. I think this looks pretty nice. Look at
It's
this.
safe.
You
And
see
if
this?
it got any better,
And that's the fit is going to be good, and the
yeah.
upper is going to be great. You're going to have room in like the toe generally, and like lockdown across the top. And I think that's what Brooks does really well. And they do really well in run specialty market
Mhm.
because people care less about like the brand and the look, and they put the shoe on and like, oh wow, this is great. So you'll probably get that on the upper piece. Did you see this plate? Look at this plate.
Yeah, and I like that shoes are getting away from a solid carbon plate because it can cause neuroma issues on the bottom of your foot. It can cause pain and discomfort. It can cause numbness. But when you give gaps in there, you give space in there, you lower the risk of someone having a forefoot problem. And I'm
So
one
this,
of those people. My right foot, forefoot, will get uncomfortable or numb in certain super shoes after like 20 to 30 minutes.
so this plate looks like it's like looks like full length, and we talked about like the rods. This is like connected rods, almost
And
like
cutouts.
it's cutouts. You would think there's probably some sort of equation that how much space you can have between the the cutouts on the foam that gives you the same type of response. So I'd
Mhm.
imagine they played that pretty close to what it should be, as opposed to the full length. Because look at this, and you would imagine that you're not gonna get the full compression that you would get on a full length solid plate, right?
There has to be some sort of equation they have with surface area of the foam and how it compresses.
Right.
Like up to 1 inch, it'll compress right. And outside of that, it'll start to get wonky. Because Adidas is considered the second fastest marathon shoe or the
The
fastest, and they have
fastest.
the rods.
True.
So, but they also have a firmer foam. And so it doesn't
Right.
splay out as much. And Brooks historically has a firmer foam.
It's
So,
firmer. Yeah.
so it can work.
Right. Right.
So this
That
shoe I'm interested in. I think this could be the, I don't know if you can call it poor man's because it's $250, but this could be the Endorphin Pro 3 of 2024.
it could. The outsole is looking. There's some significant cutouts, but it's like raised rubber with grooves in it. I think
And
it
the
could
way
work.
the grooves sit at the edge of the cutouts
Mhm.
magnifies the depth of the lug for me, in my mind.
So I like that.
I do
So
too.
I think that could work. I think that could work. Do you want to talk about those Adidas shoes?
We can talk about them.
Or is there another
All
one?
right, let
Is
me
there
take
another
a
thing on?
guess.
Is there another Brooks on here that you want to talk about?
No, not another Brooks. I have a New Balance, a Nike, and some Hoka on my hybrid radar.
We mentioned the Adidas. Let's talk about those real quick. I'm super excited about what New Balance is doing. Like that
Mm-hmm.
whole line that they're coming out with. I'm like, damn. And maybe not even for hybrid, but just like I just want those on
In
my feet.
general.
I want them on my feet.
Yeah. Having a shoe being pretty is half the battle.
And yeah,
That shoe
it might
makes
be
you
that.
want to wear it.
They look fast. They look fun and interesting. Okay, for one, you got one shot to give me all of the names of the Adidas shoe.
Adidas, Adios,
There's definitely a
Pro,
pro. There's definitely a pro in there.
Evo, and they might call it the one already, even though there's not a two.
Look at these for a G. Where can we pull these things up?
I forgot Adi Zero. Adi Zero,
Oh, Adi
Adios,
Zero.
Pro, Evo 1.
Oh my goodness. So these are the shoe that we've recently seen a world record in the marathon. What did the dude run? Like
01,
201? Was he? Well, I thought he was under 01.
7. Oh no, was he two flat 34?
I thought
Two
it was.
flat,
I thought it was too flat.
two flat. Yeah, yeah. Because Eliud was 201 34,
Uh
201
huh.
37. So he was two flat something.
So these are the fastest shoe to ever run an official marathon. Um,
And they're disposable. Do you remember the Nike Mayfly?
no.
They were rated for 50 or 100K of work.
K.
It was the first, I think 100K of work. It was the first disposable flat. They were the lightest flat out there. They're like 3.8 ounces or something, but they were disposable. And this is the marathon version of that. This is the fastest, lightest shoe ever made. It's $500 and they're rated for one race.
Oh my goodness.
I think they recommend like 1 to 2 training runs to make sure you're ready and tolerate it. And then you race and then they're done. So they're just, you're buying the potential to PR.
Yes.
It's like putting, I don't know, high octane fuel in a race car. Like if you're showing up to race and this is the only thing you want to do, this is stop one if you can find it.
So these are probably not going to be a viable option.
No,
They
there'll
look
be no lockdown or like side to side.
and what is unique about this shoe is the weight, right? Isn't it 5 point something or is it under 5?
Might be under.
It's something extremely light when we come to super shoes that we haven't really seen. And they're really firm foam combined with that is might be really something special.
4.87.
That's wild.
Now that's in a size,
A size
9,
9.
most likely. But
BK
still,
size.
that's a 5-ounce shoe and a 10. 5.5 and an 11.
So crazy light. Stacked. Does it have like stack and all that?
39, 33 stack.
6 mil, not crazy. Yeah. So these are like and then with the energy rods, like this seems like it could work, but it's just gonna be so light on the upper. The upper is gonna be literally nothing. And
No traction.
the bottom is like one slab of rubber, it looks like, without grooves or anything in it.
It's almost like sprayed on. That's how thin it is.
Yeah. So These are fun to keep an eye out on, but in terms of hybrid, yeah,
No
it's
use.
like it's like a bowling shoe.
This is the kind of shoe that 2 to 3 years from now will have changed the industry.
Yeah,
This
right.
isn't the shoe you want, but you want whatever this does to the industry
Hmm.
because it's going to force people to go lighter. And anytime people work on getting lighter, they find new formulations. That's how we got supercritical foam. People were looking for ways to how do we make this foam light? And then they realize it's crazy bouncy. And then they realize we can't stabilize it. Let's put a plate in it. They had tried carbon plates many times. I think like 84 was the first time someone tried it.
Yeah, that's not a new
But,
thing. It's not a
but
new thing.
until they found the foam that made the perfect marriage, it was useless. And so this shoe is going to force people to think outside the box again.
In general, Adidas has not been able to. I mean, they clearly don't care, but we have not been able to find a good use of Adidas outside of training for hybrid stuff.
Correct.
Yeah,
I'd take a Takumi to a stadium.
it could work in a stadium for sure. If you have some non-polished concrete, if there was some
You,
like roughness.
but you're playing with, honestly, at this point, though, I would just use the Metaspeed Sky. I can trust it
You don't think you fully trust the Takumis?
because you get on some concourses and they're polished.
Oh, I see.
And so I don't know if I could trust it. Outdoor, it's great, but I haven't taken it on outdoor polished concrete.
I see.
But one of the two. Well, those would be my two shoes for a stadium right now.
You know all the stadiums, man. You should write a whole guide to shoes for stadium races. They still do.
Dozens of people would use it.
They still do stadium races.
They still do them. There is rumor. There's always rumor, right, Rich? That
So we're doing
next
here.
year, they've at least brought it up in a meeting that there could be a stadium series next year.
Oh boy.
I believe it absolutely 0%,
Same.
but it doesn't mean I'm not going to still like get a little tingle from that
You got
idea.
you got to be ready. You got to start thinking about what footwear you're going to be wearing out there.
It's not going to be the Adidas Adizero Adios Pro Evo 1. That's like a football play. All right, Adidas Adios. Adizero Adios Pro Evo 1 on 3 set.
Right.
That's not any shorter than a complicated slant route.
All right, where do you want to go next? I'm going to. You said New Balance, Hoka.
Let's go outside the box first because I know you don't trust this shoe. Alpha Fly 3.
Oh baby, I'm dying
They
to
did
talk about
something
it.
in the Alpha Fly 2 with the bottom that kind of slipped under the radar. And in the 3, they have turned this into potentially a top 3 gripped super shoe. Nike Alpha Fly 3. And they have stopped the decoupling of the midsole, which is
They
going to make
did.
it more stable.
Yes, and the heel in the Alpha Fly original and two like extended where you got that like what are they calling that?
Swallowtail, I believe they're saying.
Swallowtail.
Some
So
people
that
call it a swale.
so the swale would not fit into the pedals of the rower.
Right.
Um, the
You
way
can
that
cut it off.
if you want, you can cut it off. And
I
the
think
threes.
Forrest Bogue might have cut one off of a vapor.
Oh, really? That
He might have. He talked about it.
then Glenn had some
Mm-hmm.
souped up. Was that
He
also
put
a
a
vapor?
VJ IROC bottom on a Vaporfly 2.
That's some ballin' ass shit right there.
That is.
But the threes, like it's still the heel kind of extends, but it seems like where it would fit in the rower, I think it would fit. Like, how would you describe that? The heel kind of rounds
Well, the other
and
day, Rich,
extends.
I did a tempo workout in the Alpha Fly 1s on the treadmill, and then I finished with a row finisher, and I just forced it and made it work, and it worked.
It's not going to
But
stop. It's going to be weird, but it's not going to like make you row worse.
it was weird until I got going, and I didn't know. It just kind of compressed it a little bit.
Right. Did you get rebound?
I was popping back like you wouldn't believe.
I do believe it.
But you have to already have your 4-foot straps pretty loose to get in there.
Right. Right.
But this is a, it sounds weird to say, but a scaled down, stripped down version of what we've seen.
It does look that way. And just a little
Look
bit.
at
And
the
like,
bottoms.
let's take a look at these bottoms.
You
It's a weird
click on these
photo.
bad boys.
It's a weird photo. A lot more going on.
Underneath the
A
Zoom
lot more
Air
going on.
units, they have like grip pods.
Yep.
And I don't know if you can tell on there, but the black pieces are like mini rectangle versions of the waffle pattern.
Really. So this is all
Yeah, you can
grooved.
see a little bit of the shadows along the mid section on the
Oh, you're
white
right.
where the
Yep.
over the shadow of the lug is. They're mini
See,
lugs. This could be a sleeper Hyrox shoe.
I would love it because this, like, yeah, they say
That's
4%.
you.
I get 10. I get 10 from the Alpha Fly. Easy.
Like the Mizuno excites me, but this here makes me think if this worked at all, this is all I'd wear.
The problem is that it's $285. So I mean, it's not that much more than every other shoe, but it's like some more than eight
But look at the
mil,
weight
7 ounces.
they stripped the downside used to be that it was A, it gave some people real issues on their arch, and B, it was just the heaviest super shoe or one of
It
them.
was the first though, so it didn't
Now it's
matter.
not.
How do they do that? That gives me concern about the upper. That this
And I think their
upper,
Atom knit they've figured out. They removed foam. Look at like the old heel where this
true,
ridge is, like this lip on the foam extended all the way down and back, and now they just gouged that out.
true. So
And
they
they
probably did
reduced
save.
rubber on the heel. Oh no, it didn't have any on the heel, did it?
No, it didn't. It just had like that wavy. The ones anyway. The twos had a good bottom. You got them right there. Yeah, that kind of
Yeah.
wavy. Those are the ones. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of a thick rubber, to be honest.
but it's not grooved.
No.
I
The
think it
rubber's
could put.
thick enough that you could take a Dremel to it and make lugs on it.
I I I've never attempted. I've done a workout in Alpha Flies before, pushing a sled, and it worked enough. Strangely enough, like it grabbed my sock and pulled my sock underneath my heel,
Hmm.
which I didn't like. Ate my sock somehow,
Okay.
which I don't know why. But that was like my main feedback on that. But this is like a little bit higher. It's kind of scooped out here as well along the collar.
Yeah.
Um, but this is still not a lot going on. Looks like what do those laces look like
It's
on the
got a little
ones?
bit it's got a little bit of structure coming up from the sides.
I
The
like
ones
that.
has nothing. If you zoom on
Nothing.
my screen for a second, there's nothing inside of
No,
here.
no.
That's my finger all the way through here.
And you can see their holes where the eyelets are. And this looks like there's like a gusset that will kind of like stretch around your foot on the new one, where it was kind of a hard, not customizable in any way. The Alpha Fly ones, like you either
No.
you put them on and that's what they were. Like
Yeah.
lacing them almost changed nothing.
You tie them tight and maybe it helped your heel a little bit, but it just like bit into your foot.
Yeah, yeah.
Love the shoe, but it was incomplete. It was certainly a version one. Maybe the
Yeah,
greatest version one of anything we've ever seen other than Vaporfly.
yeah. I don't think you can really argue with that. I don't think you can really argue with that. But these might
Maybe.
work, man. I don't know.
So we got to talk New Balance, the Pacer 2.
Hold
I
on, real
think the
quick.
Pacer 2 is the most exciting shoe advancement that we've seen in a pre-existing model.
The Pacer
the
ones looked like
They were
blah,
flats.
nothing. Yeah,
They were just low stack racing flats that did the dumbest thing you can do and put a carbon plate in it that was flat.
and it was
Carbon plate
and
that's flat.
it was low drop. It was low. I mean, it wasn't stacked very high.
Yeah,
So
it's just
like,
stiff.
yeah.
It didn't do anything. And then they brought out the 2 and went and totally redeemed themselves.
I'm trying to see if I can find these anywhere. They did that. They changed the entire line essentially. These are the two.
From top down, bottom up.
Yeah, for sure. These don't come out until March, I believe. So getting a visual on it online. Here, I got something. Is a little bit more challenging. But like the geometry looks all different all the way across the foam and everything. These are stacked way, way higher. Do we
And
know
yet
what
they
the difference
look
is?
higher than they are.
Do you know?
They're
Do you have that?
3224 according to a spec sheet I saw.
Okay.
So it's not max stack.
No, but
It's
that's
actually
nice.
it's lower, might even be lower than Vaporfly. So it's that in between. This is what I'm talking about, like that sub super shoe. Like they're not maximizing the stack. They're
32,
not
8,
going
24.
okay. So it should be more stable,
Definitely.
but it's like they took what they learned in making foam and plates and made a new shoe out of it.
Energy Arc carbon plate. Look at the bottom. Do we like this?
I do.
I think it looks pretty good. This, no doubt, would be a great Deca shoe.
Yeah.
Out the box, on the foot.
And maybe Hyrox as well.
It would,
7 ounces in a US size, what? 9.5.
so this is the one Emily Sisson ran the half in, or marathon.
This, if
Wow.
it's as stable as it seems like it could be a smooth trail racer.
Toss this on in Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi.
Could work. All the Mexican races, they'll be wearing these.
Oh yeah.
So,
So I'm very excited about this shoe.
Me too. And like the platform looks wide enough that I think it should be good around turns. I like that it's stacked higher. The rubber looks good. It just looks awesome. It
And
looks like
I like the geometric cutouts and shaping to the foam.
it's really
I don't
doing
know
it
if
for
it
me.
I don't know if it provides anything.
I don't know if it
but
does
I
anything.
like it.
Me too. It like shows it's something. It's like there's like this some cultures like that, South American in particular, they're big on Mizuno back when there was this I forget what the Mizuno shoe was, but it had like this huge technology cutout that was very clear that something was going on there. And sometimes just showing the technology does it. And I think that's what it's doing it for me here. I really enjoy it.
Like the Nike Shocks.
Like the Nike Shocks, yeah. Or even just the Alpha Flies, really. Alpha Flies were popping for a minute on like the shoe head market when they
Which
were
is
like
always
real
weird,
hard to get.
if you put them on and walked in them, you realize you don't want to ever stand still or walk in that
Extremely
shoe.
uncomfortable. I saw his woman wearing one time, not a runner, and I was like, it was before I had a pair, and when it was really like exclusive to have,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what? I was like, you're wearing the Alpha Flies?
We
like,
have a video of Mira, who was probably 4 at the time. When the box came in, she likes to put put on dad shoes and walk around like a clown. And she put those on and started walking in them and just giggled and laughed her head off because it was like she was on trampolines and she couldn't even stand in the shoe. It was so unstable and crazy. And like at 4 years old, she understood this is ridiculous.
This ain't right.
So this shoe has that bathtub design that people talk about, which I think is a great visual for how to use foam. If the sides,
that's the art, that's the cutout in the middle.
actually the top actually is what I'm talking about. If you look from the top view,
yeah,
or the side,
is that scooped out?
yeah, that's scooped out,
That's not great.
which I don't love. But that bathtub feeling where like the sides and around cradle you down inside of it, where your foot sits down a little bit inside in like a bathtub.
So it gives you a little bit more stability.
Stability. That's a good classic sign that this shoe you're gonna be able to turn in.
It looks different than this one. What am I looking at here?
Why is a different shoe?
Why is it? Yeah, what are we looking
That's
at?
a different bottom. Okay, what's going on?
V3 stable. What is this? Is this like the super comp?
Oh yeah. Oh, they're both super comp.
This is super comp. This is super comp. This is
There's Pacer and Elite.
yes. Elite is
and
is
Trainer.
Pacer, right?
Oh, I don't know. Go up. There's the go up one. All right, so that one is
It says trainer, super comp trainer,
okay. So that the next bottom is the Trainer.
which I'm very interested in that as well. Okay, here's the Pacer. Here's the Pacer.
Here's the Pacer. So the Elite actually has some like middling reviews on it so far.
And this is
it doesn't run
trainer.
as good as it looks.
Oh yeah,
for the Elite.
Completely. Because this is now the replacement for what we always talk about for the RC. There's no RC any longer.
No RC.
So this is where RC started, and now with that scooped out mid, this is going to be like worthless.
Is it scooped out or is it just black?
It looks scooped out to me. I can't tell.
The bigger the rear channel, the less I like it, the heavier you are.
Yeah. I don't know. Can't tell. But I like the idea of the super comp trainer just for training.
Mm-hmm.
For training.
So,
it's like a super stacked high. Trainer.
I have the Trainer 1 and I want to love it, but it's too high stack for me.
Uh,
It's like their version of the Prime X. It's crazy.
yeah, yeah, I know. But I like that. The Prime X, that was my
Yeah,
jam. So yeah, and I like that this Super Comp Trainer is only 180. What are the looks like the Pacer is going to be 200, which is a big jump in price point.
it
Because I think
is.
those were closer to like 160
But
in
this shoe
Q1.
earns 200 more than the Pacer 1 earned 160.
It's a completely different shoe.
It is, which they've done. The RC Elite 1 is totally different than 2, than
Yeah.
3. They've redesigned every year.
What I'm really excited about is that Rebel. We got that on here? 'Cause the
Let's
Rebel
see.
looks good. It's
Oh,
got
yeah?
it's got a little bit of that geometry shape going for it. Um, just for like a trainer. What are we on? We're on the 4 for Rebel, I believe.
So it'd be the 5, huh? Oh, no, that'd be
I
4.
think this is the 4. I think it's
Let's
where
see
we're
here.
at. Look, it's got that geometry stuff. I like
Ooh, I
it.
like that.
Look at this thing.
My issue with the Rebel is what I talked about earlier. The forefoot is too thin and flexible and soft for me.
So this is an example of a shoe without a plate. A super
Yes.
foam, if we're calling them super foam or whatever, without the super plate in it. Um,
I would need like 2 mil more or a little firmer in the forefoot.
so these remind me of
Look at that bottom.
that shit is nice. So this is just like a I think this could work.
Yeah. If it's not too flexible. Because why didn't you use the Rebel 1, 2, or 3 in hybrid?
They didn't have this type of I think it was the rubber. It was more like that
The bottom wasn't
swooping.
great.
Yeah, like this looks like multi-directional, kind of raised. I think that's why I did use the razor in a Hyrox,
So did I.
and it worked fine. And then I wore them again after
You have to be
having
fresh.
trained in them for a long time. Yeah, and like they did not work.
Yeah. My first doubles, I wore a razor.
Down in Orlando,
Yep.
that's where I wore them too.
Look at us.
I gave Magita that work on the pull, and then died a terrible death. 4-minute farmer's carry, sweaty. Couldn't even hold
That
on
was
to
hard
it.
to watch.
I will always remember you standing there and be like, "It gets better." After I was going backwards after the sled push, like it gets better. I was like, "It can't get worse.
Yeah.
Can't
All
get
right, I got an
worse."
off the wall shoe for you. You
Let's
ready
hear
for
it.
this?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's maybe the dumbest name. Mount to Coast R1.
I did see these somewhere.
This is a long distance and ultra road shoe that's not maximal stack and is designed to run on multiple terrains. Which, if
Who
it
makes
has
it?
some stability, I don't even know. I think the brand is Mount to Coast. This isn't the shoe. The
This is not it.
R1 is the shoe.
Oh, Mount Coast is the brand.
Yes, Mount to Coast R1. You might just have to go images. You'll only at this point, I think you'll only find articles. I can't even find their website. There it is. So go to second from the right or all the way to the right. One of those two. So I'm not saying this is it, but oh, you're gonna have to scroll down and
That's
find
all right.
there.
Keep talking.
It has components that on paper aren't designed for hybrid, but could work for it. So it's going to have a moderate stack. It's going to have some decent foam. It's designed to be able to handle pounding, descending, and light trails, which means that it might have to have some sort of outsole and stability, but trying to be light.
Plateless. I don't mind. I don't mind plateless. That's why it's going to be multi-surface, right?
Yeah.
You see the
P-Bax
bottoms?
midsole.
Pebax is good.
I saw one picture of the bottoms and they looked like they had potential.
It's a Japanese company or Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
Sorry. Huh. That's interesting. Have we seen anything out of?
No.
We haven't, right?
No, we have Lining, which is China, and they've had some good stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then that's about it.
This is interesting.
Yeah, so just something for people to chew on for a little bit.
These look
Who
fresh
knows
too.
if they're ever available? But yeah, they're clean looking.
These look like the
Track Smith.
what's that? Yeah. The Jack Smith ones like that. Those are just. Have you heard anything about those?
They seem like a delightful, like up tempo trainer that you should never pay that much money for.
I would probably just get them just to kick around in, just to
Yeah,
wear, just my casuals. I want my casuals with Piba in there too. That's
you
how
got to have it.
that's how I roll. I actually do enjoy walking around in the. I have the Deviate non-elite twos.
Yeah,
These
Nitro
things,
DVA2s,
yeah. And I walk
Hunter's
around.
ratio of choice.
I'm walking around kicking them and feel great. Feel great. So this would be interesting to kind of look out for. Mount to Coast
Yeah.
R1 Racer. Price point is on point. No plate in
Okay.
there. Yeah,
And
I
then
like it.
I think Hoka Mach X2 could be like the shoe for the everyman.
So I've said it a couple times today. I love the Mach X. It wouldn't be because there's the first edition of the Mach X,
Mach
uh,
X1.
Mach X1. They still make the Mach too.
Yeah,
Mach
the
as
Mach
well.
is its own thing. The Mach is a plateless version. So the Mach 6, I think, looks fantastic.
And they're still making EVA shoes. You know,
Yeah.
their bread and butter is still going to be Clifton, Rincon. So
And the Rincon
this is
came
the Mach
around
6.
5 years too late.
I know, but it's like it is that like lightweight trainer.
It would have crushed in the 2000s and 2010s.
It really would have. It's a good shoe. I have a pair. I use them like I like run around in them a little bit.
Yeah. So the Mach X2, to me, visually and through their stats, says we see the Mach X and then we see our super shoe, what we can do now. And we're going to take it and trickle down the technology into the Mach X.
Is it lighter?
Yeah.
Because that's the main hang up with the current version. Is that it's
Dual
definitely heavy.
layer, supercritical and PIBA, P-backs plate. And look at that upper. Does that look familiar to you?
Hmm. It's kind of like
That's
it
a
looks
racer upper.
yeah, that's more stripped down than the current version. The current version is a trainer. Like they may have made it for like tempos, but
It's
it is a
Rocket
trainer.
X2 combined with Mach X, in my opinion.
Uh,
They took the Rocket X2 and they took the technology and brought it to the X. And that's what the X2 looks like, which could mean that this is like not to put a time limit on it, but this is like the 65 to 80-minute Hyrox crowd right here.
yeah, yeah. And if the bottom is so has is like going to be sticky enough to push that sled,
And
like
if
I
it's
don't
open weight, it doesn't have to be spectacular bottoms.
right. I almost sometimes like that's why I got the regular DV8 from Puma. I'm just like I just don't want to worry about the
The
bottom's
grip.
letting me down. And it's like even if it's just like a little heavier, not as super like that
Yeah.
to me like the peace of mind of that is enough. I don't know if these will do that. What?
That's the wrong picture. That's not the
Yeah,
Speedgoat
it
6.
can't be.
But Tecton X3.
Fired up about it? Is that what this
Oh,
is?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeesh. That's good. I like that they're like if they're gonna distinguish it even further from
This is
the
now a
speed
weapon.
goat.
Full
Oh, it's
PIBA,
crazy.
new compound on the outsole, improved carbon fiber plates, allegedly, integrated gator, fully redesigned upper, new
This is
geometry to it.
this could be the Abu Dhabi shoe with a gator in there, wider
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah. I mean, I would take this this brings me to OCR. I'd wear this for any beast or ultra. Maybe not any. I wouldn't take it in the swamp. But that's the Walmsley shoe right there.
Have they had a Rocket X3?
They have. So we had an interview with Matt Baxter. He runs for Hoka professionally,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, "Hey, you got that X3 yet?"
Did
He's like,
he
"I do. Stop recording." And he pulled it up and he showed me. And I think I told you right out. I probably called you like all giddy and flushed. It has. It looks like a super shoe. He said this is the first one that has like a tip to it and there's a
mm,
bottom cutout and it's like They took the Rocket X2 and said, let's turn this into a Vaporfly.
Maybe that's why they're making the Mach X more like a racer then too, to kind of fill that space.
Yeah,
Their foam, I've been very impressed with. That's like Nike for me personally. Nike and Hoka feel pretty similar in the
that's
two.
crazy to say.
Yeah, and that's just however they're doing it. Like that's I don't know how long it necessarily lasts. Like they feel like they've
Zoom
run
X
out of some
doesn't.
energy. Right. Exactly. So, but for between because I've worn a bunch of them in the Cielo as well. It's a great like lower profile kind of race day shoe. But I like what they're doing.
And I haven't had their new Pebax foam yet.
It's nice. I recommend. You like Hoka? You like the way they fit? You got to get some.
Love them.
Got to get those Mizunos first. I think that's the first thing.
Mizuno or Alpha 3, but Mizuno's cheap right now.
And Alpha 3, is it actually going to work?
Well, Mizuno.
It's
I mean, I think the Alpha 3 is safer than the Mizuno.
You do think so?
It just doesn't look as crazy.
The Alpha 3 looks less crazy?
Yeah, because it doesn't have the
Yeah.
cutout in the heel.
The cutout in the heel is pretty wacky.
Yeah.
Cut on threes, it's pretty wacky.
Do you have time to round out with OCR?
Yeah, let's do it
for the year.
Let's do it.
What do you have on your list from hybrid first that we didn't get to?
No, we covered basically everything. That's that we covered really all of it. I don't have a ton down for OCR, but I'm looking forward to looking into it. But yeah, I would say just be on the lookout for Puma, and if like you're kind of lost on it, I think the Deviate price point wise, it's gonna work. It's not gonna like blow your mind in terms of underfoot feel, but it's just gonna work.
In the open division, I can wholeheartedly promote the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3.
Yeah,
you will feel fast and the sleds will move.
Definitely. All right. Onward. OCR.
We already talked about Tecton X3. We showed the Agravic Speed Ultra from Adidas, which I think could be like maybe someday. It's not yet ready for OCR, but you shared this with me. I've seen it as Brooks Agile and Brooks Catamount Agile.
Oh, yes.
But the Brooks Agile looks like a Salomon S-Lab shoe to me.
It really does. Let's pull it up.
Which, great. If you had to choose a place to start, and they even chose colors that were kind of S-Lab-ish.
Yeah. The upper is probably not, because I've never worn an S-Lab. The upper seems to be pretty substantial, right?
It's hard to tell with these engineered uppers.
On the S-Lab.
You might get it in hand and you can see through half of it. I don't know. But S-Lab uses that integrated half gator approach. That sock-like upper, which I used to not like. I really like the new version of Salomon. So I'm very interested to see these, which sucks that you lost that Brooks plug.
I know. We'll see what I can do.
But this shoe is light. It's low slung. It is a nasty grip based racer. This isn't plush. This is about running fast over varied terrain. And that's OCR, baby.
It really is. Like the lugs are definitely more aggressive. You're going to get their super foam nitrogen infused midsole compound DNA Flash V2.
And that right there, let's stop there. The worst road super foams, in my opinion, make the best trail foams. Because they're not super squishy and they're not like making you feel special, but they're better than EVA and they're lighter, but they're firm. And they're like, I just feel firm and I'm not popping. Well, that's what you want on the trail. You want something light with some energy return, but you don't want a squishmallow all over the place. I think Vault and the DNA 3 is supposedly improved anyway, but I think that the worse the super foam is, the better it is on the trail.
So it looks like there's some sort of shank in there too, right?
Yeah, it's got that Speed Vault, which is more of a rock plate in this sense.
So the Speed Vault trail, because we saw the Speed Vault and when we pulled up the Hyperion Elite, which was the one which was the plate with all the cutouts in it. Is that what that's going to be? Like full length plate with a cutout?
I don't know how full length it'll be, but basically the composite plates, the plastic plates in regular shoes are basically just rock plates. So I think it would make sense here that they would use it for dual purpose.
I forget which shoe it was. Maybe it was one when they had the like the grit and the um I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of that line that they had.
They had the grit, they had the divide,
They had it
the
across. There
pure
was like
flow.
the pure line. There was
Yeah.
like that was like their lower profile response to like minimal shoes. The product line manager would refuse to call it a rock plate. He's like, it's a propulsion plate. It's like, yeah,
Mm.
but like it's also a rock plate, right? It's gonna. He's like, no, propulsion. It's gonna move you forward. And yeah, so that's what that looks
Is it
like.
going
It's
to
gonna have
help my
something like
feet from rocks? Listen, you're asking the wrong questions, bud.
that. That's exactly what it was. I'm like, all
You can
right,
tell they have this mandate from corporate that they're just, we don't say rock plate this quarter.
this is
Like,
we're
all
focusing
right.
on speed. Okay, so we're gonna propulse you forward. But so this kind of rounds out their trail line, right? Because I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking about that, like, why? But this is more of a racer where like a Catamount and the Cascadia, like they're classic, just like trainer. But this is seems like they're just coming down and down into, and this is like an OCR shoe. Are there many brands making shoes that are going to be a little bit lower profile, faster?
No, there are
Not
very
really,
few.
right?
Merrill has their Skyfire or whatever that thing is. They've got their crazy one, but it has a carbon something in it. And I think it's too like sharp of a weapon for
Huh.
many courses. You have this, you have Solomon.
The Zanal is this looks like a Zanal to me.
It does, but to me, the Zanal, I mean, there are some people that use it. Gregory Basilico uses it. He's got to be a Hoka athlete of some sort because
I thought so.
he was in Solomon prior, and I don't know why you'd leave what they had for the trail line. But I think they're suddenly in like, if this shoe isn't trash, they're suddenly in like elite company for if you need a stripped down, fast, luggy, whatever terrain racer, you've got like 3 or 4 options, and this is not one of them.
Do they have a team on the trail?
They do. So if anyone's been watching the Golden Trail series or anything like that, suddenly Brooks is out there.
Huh.
And they have a
So this
pretty
is probably
decent
why.
American contingent.
Let's go. Who's on it? Do you know?
Oh, I couldn't tell you the names right now. No.
Now I'm going down a hole. Um, so this propulsion plate, which I will stick with what they were calling it in 2014, it does not look the same. Like when you get this
Sky
angle of
Vault,
it,
Rich.
we're Speed Vault,
Speed Vault.
bruh.
I don't know either.
So this does not look like the same shape as the Hyperion. This looks like just like two shanks that are going to go up. Probably
And also,
similar
this is
to.
wrong. There's no way it's available in January 2023.
I would also agree with that. We'll typo. Let's get an ear of these editors here.
But
Catamount
so
Act.
that shoe, this to me is like a modern take on the shoes that existed when we first came into OCR, an X Talon 190 or 210, or the original S Lab Sense Pro type shoe.
What was the
This is
Hoka one that
that
everybody
for
was
now.
crazy? Evo Jaws.
Evo Jaws, yeah, that had more, and those shoes had a
Those are
little
bigger
bit more
lugs, right?
lug to it.
Yeah.
But there are very few courses. I've been racing in the S Lab um, Pulsar soft ground, and I'm realizing that like the big lugs are only really, really sloppy mud specific.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
this type of lug, I would guess this is 4.5 or 5 mil, is enough
Right, and
for
I think
most courses.
that was one. Yeah, almost 5.7.
Oh, look at that. That's even better.
Yeah, and I think that is a differentiator, right? Like if you're in a muddy course, would you wear in Michigan?
I wore the Pulsar soft grounds,
Gave them work,
but we didn't have that like thick mud. We had swamp
so it doesn't
where there's
really
a lot of
matter.
water to it. So
Right.
it didn't matter as much. We weren't crawling up like ravine sides with 3 inches of mud where I really needed a claw. That's where a shoe can come up short. But
What's the
this is
muddiest?
probably
What's
your
the
almost
muddiest course?
Indiana in the past was
Chicago's been really muddy, right?
Chicago in the past. If it rains, is there have been some Carolina course. Georgia.
Mm.
Georgia was always really muddy.
And that's up and down, right?
Not bad. I mean,
But like
little
not
little
flat,
rollers.
not
Yeah,
flat.
ravines and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. 'Cause I ran in that ultra I did with the speed goats. There was like that clay
Yeah, that's nasty.
wasn't happening. I was sliding all over. Something like
Yeah.
that. Something like this would be helpful for that.
So the question always becomes with a shoe like this, the rubber compound and the upper lockdown. Like it looks pretty, it looks the part,
It
but
really
we've
does.
seen when Brooks came out with the first Catamount, I don't believe that grip was good on wet.
Right.
And we've seen some brands that like Saucony, their trail shoes originally and probably up until the last year or two was legitimately dangerous on wet conditions.
Yeah.
And so that's what it comes down to since we haven't touched this shoe. Does the upper actually lock down, which since they have a pro team, I'm assuming they've tested. And is this a West Coast and a European tread, or is this a wet ground tread?
It looks pretty good. I mean, the lugs are
It does.
facing different directions, and
Just the
there's.
compound is all I'd worry about, but I would happily try this shoe out.
Have you had the? Have you worn the Cascadia ever?
Um,
I mean,
a
they're a
long
big
time
shoe.
ago.
They're a big shoe, but Brooks based in Seattle. Shit is
Hmm.
wet. It's wet out there, so
They
they
should
should
have
have
it.
they should have the wetness on lock.
Yeah. But this seems like something you could take sprint super for some people beast on 90% of courses out there.
I
This
would
would be a
definitely be
great
looking out
savage
for
shoe.
this. I would definitely be looking out for this. When does it drop? You think? Maybe is it out now? Since
I would say probably spring this year, but maybe it's out.
because it said January 23, I was thinking 24.
Mm,
It says summer.
bummer.
Rumored. So nothing going on.
All right, you want pure one type of use OCR shoe?
Let's do it.
North Face Summit series, which is their high level. North Face Summit Off Trail Boa.
Did I get it?
Let's see. Take series out. Scroll down. Just go to actual web. I think just rumors of this shoe are starting out.
Okay.
Not Craig Stone,
This boa looks like it's part of the technology. You
but it's off. I believe it's off trail. Might be one word.
think that's the difference? You think Google doesn't know?
I don't know what Google knows.
They know it all. I don't know, man. Where'd you
Anyway,
find
this
this?
has a built-in legit gator with a boa dial and some lugs on it.
So okay. It's called the Summit Off Trail, you think?
Yeah, I
Let's
thought.
take boa out. No, now we're on
Try Summit Vective off trail. This is the thing with these naming systems. They're just
Vectrix. Am I way off now?
no,
No,
a
no.
Vectiv, Vectiv, off trail.
Vective Pro?
No, off trail. The Vective Pro is their mountain
Off Trail
racing
Summit?
shoe.
What is the Vective?
It basically is like saying Terex or Addy Zero. It's their racing version. And this is Albin's shoe, but this isn't the one.
Hmm. Don't
It's too
know.
bad we can't find this.
Don't know, man. Where'd you find? Where'd you hear about this? You must have been deep on some boards.
It must have been. I thought you could find it on like Believe in the Run or don't here. Go back to most exciting trail shoes on that tab 3. Scroll search function for Summit. No, not on this one, huh?
Not this one.
No. Oh well, we can move on.
Moving on.
So the trail shoe that's impressed me the most in taking road technology to the trails has been the Pulsar series. And they currently have the Salomon S Lab Pulsar and the Pulsar SG, which is soft ground. So the regular Pulsar has very little lug, and the SG has like 3.5 mil lugs, maybe 4. And then they have the S Lab Pulsar Pro. But the new one coming out, the S Lab Pulsar 2, is combining the two shoes into one. So there's no longer a regular Pulsar and a soft ground. It's just,
Mhm.
oh, sorry, 3. It'll be 3, not 2. The 2 is improved in some ways. The 3 looks to be like the Goldilocks OCR shoe.
Huh.
And it's not the vest, it'll be the shoe. I don't
You do like vests though.
I'm a waist pack guy, but I'm a vest nerd.
I also like
Try Pulsar. I hit shoe after that. Shoe.
Looks like there's some video. It's not gonna do us much help.
No, it wouldn't.
I don't
That's
know.
not it.
I don't know.
Well, it's the lugs got bigger actually and a little wider, and it looks visually like everything that's good about this shoe with more lugs and more lockdown.
Mm.
So to me, it might be just the jack of all trades OCR shoe.
Are they doing a Pipa foam?
They're doing a something, yeah. This is their what's it called? All these brands have their own. Solomon has their
Energy foam.
energy foam,
cell.
yeah, which I really like. I really like that foam in this shoe. It's like for me the perfect trail combination of soft and bouncy, but just stable enough to trust it.
Mm. And there's no shank or plate in these?
No, they have some like they stiffen a little bit around the middle to give you some stability. That's what I
there's
think might be the
two foams in it, I think.
yeah. So they have this stiffer foam that keeps you from rolling out of it. But I think they do a good job mixing the foams, and it just feels beautiful to run in. So the S Lab Pulsar 3, which is what it will be, I think will be the runner's version of like the something from VJ. VJ, you never question the grip or the durability, but they don't always fit like regular running shoes, and there's no like ride to it.
Yeah,
It's just you've strapped grip to your feet.
for sure.
This is the opposite approach, which is the running shoe approach to off trail running.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense with these. I've never tried Solomon. I just never got there.
They were always narrow and stiff, and they've learned how to do uppers, and now they're playing around with foams. And so for a while I just wouldn't run in them, and now I will, and now I love them. So the Pulsar soft grounds went on sale, and I immediately bought a second one that's just sitting here because I love the shoe.
Need to have them.
Got them.
Got anything else?
Not for OCR, no. It's they generally launch their trail stuff in fall. Like late summer to fall seems to be trail launches, and I don't like that.
I was gonna say this Pulsar, the Pulsar 3, like we can't find much information about it. It must not come out until the fall.
I just read on someone somewhere, and it was beautiful.
It will live up. So we'll be on the lookout. We'll do follow up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we talked about a lot. We can keep going. Maybe it should be a semi-annual Jack Not Invited.
Because here's the thing about Jack. What does he bring to the shoe table? He has a wide foot and he likes zero drop. Like that's the buzzkill. There's nothing exciting there.
No. He's like, you guys heard of Topo? It's like, yeah, dude.
And I like Topo. Like the Zephyr 2, let's add that to the potential hybrid shoe.
No.
The Topo Zephyr 2. If the outsole, yeah, I mean, just you look at the shoe and realize they've taken this thing to the next level.
I've not paid attention to what they're doing.
Sorry, Spectre 2
in any way, because I don't. There's too much good stuff out here to be playing around with Topo.
To me, it's like it'll fight against the Hyperion Max and the Mach. It's P-backs foam, full P-backs, no plate, 35 or like 37, 35 stack height. Looks the part. It's a little lower drop. It's a little wider forefoot, but it still can lock down. Topo has good foam. This is an exciting shoe to me if this is your jam.
It ain't. Tell you that right now.
It looks pretty though, doesn't it? The Spectre 2. Pull it up. Show the people.
I only got the Spectre 1 up right now.
Oh, yeah.
Which is EVA.
I'm not talking Spectre 1. Spectre 2.
That's what I found. I couldn't find nothing else. Spectre 2. Okay, I see something coming out now. I don't know. I can't find because no one's excited about it. So no one's highlighting it.
But that's the point, right? You bring in the fat foot, flat earther.
That's basically what we're getting at. Jack, we don't care. We don't care about
No,
those topos. We don't care about ultras. We ain't gonna wear
unfortunately.
them. We ain't gonna wear
It's just a niche market, even more niche than hybrid.
them. Believe it or not. Well, cool.
Performance driven, flat foot, wide
Zero
OCR,
drop. No,
zero
not
drop.
gonna happen. So yeah, Josh Reed on. Was that your most
Mhm.
recent?
Yeah, that went up Friday, and then we have a Tuesday. We took today yesterday's episode to tie together like bow ties on things that we had been talking about. So we've been talking about like with Josh Reed, of course, we're talking about muscular endurance for ultras. It
Mhm.
was all ultra the second talk. And then prior to that, we are talking about how much true like speed reps should someone be doing in a week as an endurance athlete. And
Mhm.
then talking about the long run, spamming the medium long run like Batras, 90 minutes to 2 hours multiple times a week, almost never goes over 2 hours versus people who are like, you got to get out there and get a true long run from time to
Ugh.
time. I was talking about how do you implement these things? How should they feel and how should they leave you feeling? Like, where do you put these in a schedule? So, taking some of our last three topics and giving some more action to how to actually implement it.
Nice. Super strong. We just had a regular RMR training podcast. Meg, Kent, and I just talked about what we're up to. That's basically what
How's
we're doing.
Kent? Is he hurt?
He's just like training through like a stress reaction, maybe stress fracture, like in his third metatarsal.
It's a tricky spot.
He's just doing it, man. He's still running like 50. He hit 60 last week. He's just dealing with it. His fitness is good. We're all gonna
Yeah.
be we're all gonna be in Vienna, which is coming up soon, dude. That is
You
like
ready?
no, not even close.
What are you wearing?
For that,
You wearing those RMR Pro 3s?
I'm gonna bring the fresh RMR endorphins and then RC ones. I want to see what
Yeah.
that floor is gonna be like. If it's a big, shiny, clean hall like it was in Sweden, they should do fine. I don't know. I don't know what Austrian convention centers are like. The place looks massive, so I'm
It's
hoping for
gonna
a one
spin the
lapper.
wheels.
Eventually, we're gonna get a one lapper
In Orange County, not in Orange County, at the Orange County Convention
in
Center.
Orlando.
Yeah. If they ran you hall to hall, that'd be pretty sweet.
Are they connected?
No, I mean, just like all the way down. There's like a half-mile hallway.
It was the longest hallway ever. That would be great.
I was like, I'm going to get there. I have plenty of time. The doorway is right here. Like, I'm good. 15 minutes later, I got to check in.
That was super COVIDy then. Remember?
Super COVIDy.
Yeah, they had like a tiny event for us.
There's one guy zipping around on a Segway. Like, is this place, am I in the right spot? He's like, oh, yeah, you just got to head down about 15-minute walk that way. Like, let me hop on your Segway. Like,
we're getting a one
social distancing.
We're getting a one lapper here soon. I'm hoping it's this one. But that's it.
Would you do an outdoor run, like a off trail Hyrox or a trail Hyrox?
If it was like a trail, if it was in like Southern California and you could depend on the weather being right, like
That's the thing, right?
probably. But when they try to do them in New York, any time of the year, it's like, okay, this isn't going to work.
What about like the Arnold Classic, where they would do those things where like you're in an open hall and you run out, come in and do your thing under a top?
The New York run this year is going to be under. You're going to go outside and run under a thing, and then go back in.
Interesting.
So that would be all right. I mean, that would make the RC Elites just crush because then you get you don't have to worry about the flooring at all. So
how big is the lap though?
I don't know if they do that stupid thing where they kind of zigzag. Because on one of the piers, I mean, the piers are big. There's gonna be a bunch of people. I don't know. I'm not expecting that to be that enjoyable. And this in June, it might be hot.
It's gonna be muggy.
So if it was Southern California, any time of the year, really, in the morning, probably in the summer or spring, I'm down.
What's your level of interest? Because I know I've been saying this, but I finished the Golden Trail series and now I'm working back through all the Spartan stuff. And I just keep seeing Rich Ryan at all these races I either forgot about or didn't realize you were in.
I was out there.
And you can flat out run trails.
I do okay. I think I do fine for a little bit. And just
you're up near the front, able to run with anyone you want to for the first like mile or two.
For a little bit.
Which means if you tried at all like trail running right now.
And that's when I was living in Philly. I was barely on trails.
Right. But you look stable. You look like you can run strong on trails. So my question is, will we actually see you in OCR this year? So I
Where are
think
we
that might be
going?
something this channel needs, is we might need to race. It does have a serious hybrid lilt right
Starting
now.
to. Starting to. When's Seattle?
Seattle's not till September.
September. You trying to go? Is it a super or a beast?
It's a beast.
Ah,
Just too bad.
that's too long. I think
I'm considering Jacksonville, Seattle for my Spartan experiences for the year.
you might hit Jacksonville?
Yeah, I might. I'm not promising anything, but
What else is in
it
between?
got a lot less exciting when they removed prize money because it was already going to be watered down because of the Abu Dhabi or the Saudi Arabia Tough Mudder the same day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if this removes even more people there, like I don't want to fly down in February just for like the Jacksonville Super or Sprint, but I
Right.
would do it to race against all the good people. But if they're not there, I don't know.
That's true. And Utah's also a beast, right?
Big Bear Super Utah Beast.
I would like to run that course again.
Yeah.
I've never done the beast. I did the super. I would like to do Big Bear now too, since I live in an area where I could actually like deal with it.
Mhm.
But that's May,
I
right?
watched both of those this week. It's just not enticing to me.
No. Which year? Any of the years?
19 and 21.
Okay. Yeah.
Watching some hawk call out there.
That
I
was
just
when
saw
Big Bear.
Ryland break his
Oh yeah.
foot.
Yeah. Big Bear was a beast the year I ran it. And that was a miserable time.
And then my last one I watched last night was Tahoe, the Reedinger shoulder destruction year.
Oh yeah. That was 21.
And that course makes me want to run that.
Dude, I would love that.
Every time I
course.
watch Tahoe, I want to run Tahoe.
It's amazing.
Every time I watch Big Bear, I think,
No.
bring back Tahoe.
The weather is just little iffy. It gets cold there.
Which I don't mind. I'd rather have that than like 90 degrees on the side of a beast mountain.
That's what Utah is.
Yeah.
Utah is just like being
I don't
a
know.
beast.
I'd like to hit 2 or 3 Spartan this year.
Seattle
But they
could work.
changed around dates on a bunch.
Let's just go
Michigan's
to
not in the fall anymore.
Oh no. So you got to gear up for that soon?
Not soon, but it's like in the middle of summer when we have stuff going on.
Ugh.
I'd like to hit 1 stadium, a Deca or 2 Hyrox, probably end of year Hyrox. It's either going to be end of year or first thing. It's either going to be all I do this winter or it's going to be all I do in fall.
Seattle in September.
I have to get a 69 or 70-minute Hyrox off my record.
Yeah. Let's get you.
I'm
out
not a
there.
59 guy, but I'm not a 69 guy either.
No. Your athlinks needs to be spruced
but
up.
I am what it says I am until it says I'm something else.
So for that, we don't know what it looks like after June for Hyrox. We don't have the fall schedule yet.
Yeah, it sucks that DC doesn't have Pro
I know.
because that makes a lot of sense that time of year.
And then outside of that, we need something Midwest. I don't know when Chicago's going to be.
Yeah,
I'd imagine at some point. Whatever. We'll make it happen.
But you would consider doing Seattle?
Maybe. Yeah, I'd consider it depending on what the Hyrox season is looking like.
Get those Agiles?
I might grab these Agiles, man. No, if I'm going beast, I'm wearing Speed Ghost no matter what.
Even if it rains in Seattle?
No, probably not. I learned that lesson, but I don't know what I would wear. I'd probably wear those in alls. I really like those. I feel comfortable in those.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. All right, dude.
Get well
Talk
soon,
to you soon.
Jack.